Grup saya kalau ikutkan asalnya berempat, tetapi ada 2 orang dia defer studies. So that tinggal 2 orang.
Tinggal 2 orang.
Tinggal 2 orang. Jadi macam itulah bila dah bincang awal dah cuba nak agihkan tugas tu, dia agak efek jugalah untuk tugasan, bukan ni je.
Betul.
Sebab untuk subjek-subjek lain pun kami sama grup. Jadi macam banyak inilah, cuma nak mohon izin kalau dibenarkan atau ni. Sebab ada, boleh tak kalau ada satu lagi grup dia yang tak, mungkin 3 orang je tak silap saya, boleh tak kalau kami merge?
Boleh, boleh.
Boleh
Boleh.
Okay. Kalau dah diizinkan insya-Allah lah.
3 to 4 members lah, 3 to 4 members within a group
macam
okay lagi.
Dia macam lebih seorang doktor, tak apa ke? Macam 5 orang rasanya.
5 ramai tu. Tapi tak apalah.
Ramai
as long as you can contribute well to your group, boleh lah. Boleh tapi make sure kalau boleh submit your summary tu soon possible, as soon as possible. Okay, summary for assignment 2 and assignment 3. Ada lagi soalan regarding the 2 assignment? Ada lagi tak faham ke? Sorry saya lambat respon. Saya terlupa nak respon hari tu. Yes, for the second assignment tu you need to shoot the video. Okay, either the conflict that you propose will be handled through negotiation or mediation. Okay, tapi this week baru kita akan belajar lah mediation and moderation. Tapi ni last class dah. Tapi kalau let's say you need extra class, just let me know. Okay, so we proceed with this week topic. Okay, so conflict management. This is the strategy on how we can handle the conflict at workplace or anywhere. Okay, so this is our LO. At the end of the session, students are able to define or differentiate between cooperation and competition. Okay, sometimes ada setengah orang tu dia suka resolve the conflict dia tu through cooperation. Ada juga yang suka resolve the conflict through competition. Dia rasa compete tu dia boleh fulfill his or her own satisfaction. Okay, dan kita akan learn about a few types of conflict management style. So dia ada 5 jenis gaya penyelesaian konflik. Yang ni sebenarnya sangat common lah, kita dah belajar banyak kali rasanya during your bachelor degree last time pun saya rasa you all ada belajar. Okay, and then kita akan belajar juga the role of third party, peranan pihak ketiga dalam penyelesaian konflik dan juga perundingan, melalui perundingan. Sebenarnya all the five management style, conflict management style ni kita boleh pakai dalam dua-dua keadaan. Kalau let's say kita gunakan third party, kalaulah let's say kita jadi orang ketiga dalam penyelesaian konflik tersebut, ataupun bila kita negotiate atau berunding konflik kita secara langsung, secara direct. Okay. Okay, so these are the 5 conflict resolution approach. Okay, kita ada 5 pendekatan konflik, 5 gaya penyelesaian konflik. Okay, dan 5 gaya penyelesaian konflik ni kita boleh bahagikan kepada 2 faktor. Okay, faktor pertama daripada segi kerjasama, cooperativeness. Kalau kita tengok x-axis ni, cooperativeness, from left to right, from uncooperative to cooperative. Okay, less cooperative to cooperative. Okay, yang kedua kita tengok dari segi unassertive ataupun dari segi assertiveness. Assertiveness ni related to how much we concern about ourselves. Semakin tinggi assertive ni maksudnya semakin tinggi concern kita terhadap diri kita. Maksudnya kita lebih mengutamakan keperluan diri. Kalau y-axis ni. Okay, so kita ada yang pertama avoiding. Okay, gaya penyelesaian konflik mengelak. Mengelak ni maksudnya kalau kita ceritakan daripada segi dua elemen ni, cooperative dan assertiveness ni, avoiding ni maksudnya kita less cooperative. We less cooperative and we are unassertive. Unassertive ni we didn't concern about our own goal. Okay, kita tak cooperate dalam nak menyelesaikan konflik dan kita tidak mengutamakan kepentingan diri. Okay. Dan yang kedua kita ada competing. Competing ni dia uncooperative and but assertive. Compete ni kita tak memberi kerjasama untuk menyelesaikan konflik, tapi kita mengutamakan matlamat diri. That's why maksudnya kita nak diri kita menang, win to lose situation. Kita nak make sure yang diri kita menang dalam konflik tersebut. Kita nak compete dengan orang lain. So yang ketiga, compromising. Compromising ni dia boleh, ada yang kata dia adalah small win-win. Small win-win. Tapi sebenarnya dalam compromising ni dia ada sikit cooperativeness dan dia ada sedikit assertive. Maksudnya dia cuba untuk fulfill kedua-dua matlamat, tetapi tidaklah mengambil kira kesemua matlamat yang ada. Okay, dua-dua. Maksudnya ada yang kita kena sacrifice. Kena sacrifice sikit untuk dapat sikit. Dua-dua pihak kena sacrifice. Okay, dia juga towards win-win situation lah. Okay. Okay, next one cooperative. Next one is accommodating. Accommodating ni kalau kita tengok, dia cooperative, very cooperative, tapi dia less assertive. Dia sangat tak assertive. Maksudnya sebenarnya kita hanya nak fulfill keperluan orang lain. Kita sanggup berkorban, we sacrifice our own needs to fulfill other needs. Okay. Maksudnya kita ikut je apa yang orang lain cakap. Okay, next one, the most effective conflict resolution approach is collaborating. Yang ni paling efektif tapi paling susah untuk dilakukan. Okay, nanti kita tengok kenapa dia paling susah. Okay, so kalau kita dividekan mengikut win-lose dynamic, kita boleh tengok yang first tadi, avoiding tadi, lose-lose konflik lah. Okay, dua-dua pihak yang berkonflik kalah sebenarnya. Okay, dua-dua tak dapat apa-apa kalau kita gunakan kaedah mengelak. Okay, and then yang kedua compete tadi dia win-lose. Okay, win-lose. Satu pihak akan menang, satu pihak akan kalah. Okay, yang ni maksudnya kita akan ada satu pihak yang akan rasakan diri dia superior dan akan ada pihak yang merasakan diri dia inferior. Okay, yang ketiga tadi compromise. Yang ni saya kata small win-win. Kita tak dapat nak fulfill semua elemen yang kita sebut dalam konflik yang diperbincangkan, tapi kita ada small, kita akan dapat sikit portion. Okay, kalau accommodate ni dia lebih kepada lose win, maksudnya akan ada pihak yang kalah dan akan ada pihak yang menang. So kalau kita tengok dalam situasi ni, kitalah yang kalah tu sebab kita terpaksa follow the needs of other people. Contohnya kita terpaksa ikut keperluan bos kita sebab apa? He or she is more superior than us. So kita accommodate je, kita ikut sahaja. Okay, next one is collaborate. Collaborate ni adalah win-win situation. Okay, in which both parties try to list down all the needs, all their needs, dan dia akan work together to achieve the needs of both parties. Sebab itu dia win-win. Okay, kita tengok the first one, avoiding response. Okay, by the way, any questions so far? So all the 5 conflict resolution ni sebenarnya setiap orang ada. Setiap orang ada kelima-lima strategi ni. It just sometimes we prefer to use one type according to situation. Ikutlah kadang-kadang dengan family, kalau let's say kita adalah seorang abang sulung. So probably kita akan prefer to use compete. Sebab kita rasa abang sulung ni patut menang dalam konflik, tak perlu mengalah. Dan juga boleh jadi juga dalam keluarga anak bongsu. Kalau kita anak bongsu, boleh jadi anak bongsu ni biasanya yang paling dimanjakan. Sebab tu dia paling ketegang. Contoh, kalau dalam organisasi juga, dia lain juga. Sebab bila kita dengan bos, boleh jadi kita akan apply accommodate. Boleh jadi. Ataupun kita akan prefer small win to, tapi small win to win ni jarang. Small win to win ni maybe dengan our clique. Dengan orang yang mempunyai kuasa yang sama, kan, hierarki dia sama, baru kita akan guna accommodate. Tapi kalau avoid ni, kalau let's say kita rasa issue tu small, tak apa, kita tengok one by one. Okay, so avoiding response ni, it is uncooperative and unassertive. Maksudnya kita tak cooperate, kita tidak memberi kerjasama untuk menyelesaikan konflik dan kita tidak mengutamakan matlamat diri untuk menyelesaikan konflik. Okay, so we neglect the interest of both parties by sidestepping the conflict or postponing a solution. Maksudnya kita cuba mengelak daripada menyelesaikan konflik tersebut. Kita tahu konflik tu ada, kita tahu ada isu, okay, tapi kita buat tak tahu. kita mengelak. Okay, so this is often the response of managers who are emotionally ill-prepared or poorly trained to cope with the stress associated with the confrontation. Maksudnya kita tak di well trained untuk deal directly with the conflict. Dia biasanya sometimes dia akan ambil masa, dia berbeza dengan orang yang ambil masa dulu, ambil masa untuk calm down and come back to settle the conflict. Yang ni adalah orang yang memang hilang terus. Okay, this shows that the relationship is not strong enough to absorb the fallout of an intense conflict. Maksudnya dia tak ada interest pun to maintain the long-term relationship with the second party. Okay, so repeated of this approach causes considerable frustration for others because issues never seem to get resolved. Bila orang tu datang nak discuss je, kita lari. Orang tu datang nak discuss je, kita lari. Okay, so really tough problem are avoided because of their high potential for conflict. Maybe within the organization there are some decision that must be made urgently, but because maybe we do not have a proper or appropriate information, so that we cannot decide. We cannot decide. Contohnya kita ada satu pekerja yang kita suka, tapi pekerja ni perlu ditransfer contohnya. So the final decision is from us, tapi kita tak boleh nak decide. Maksudnya tak ada proper, kita tak ada maklumat yang cukup, kita tak ada kuasa yang cukup, so that we keep avoiding from making that decision. Okay, and then employees engaging in conflict are reprimanded for undermining the harmony of the work group. Okay, so ini untuk avoidance response. Any questions so far? Ada soalan? Tak ada Clear je kan? Okay, next one, accommodating response. Accommodating ni tadi yang duduk kat tengah-tengah tu, small win-win apa tu? Accommodate yang bawah. Yang bawah, right? Okay, yang ni. Yang bawah ni, loose win. Okay, so accommodate ni obliging, okay, and then cooperative but unassertive. Kita bagi kerjasama untuk selesaikan konflik tu, tapi dia unassertive. Maksudnya we ignore our own needs. So apa jadi kalau kita ignore kita punya keperluan? Adakah is it every time we have conflict, we are in conflict, we have to ignore our own needs? Kalau kita ni seorang yang self-esteem, so probably we can just follow whatever decision made by others to us, right? Okay, we try to satisfy through accommodating response ni. The individual try to satisfy the other parties concerned while neglecting one's own. Kita ikut je apa yang dia nak. Kita sebenarnya kita punya needs or kita punya goal. Contohnya weekend, contohnya bila discuss dengan isteri, kita sebenarnya nak pergi Legoland. Tapi isteri nak pergi PD, nak mandi pantai. But maybe because we want to avoid the conflict, so we just accommodate the need of our wife. Contohnya, ikut PD. Tapi we neglect our needs. Is it we satisfied? Are we satisfied? So the issue tu akan ada lagi kat situ. Okay, the frustration is there even though it is a small frustration. Okay, so if let's say managers neglect of their firm's interest, ini dalam konteks pengurusan organisasi. Kalau the manager neglects the firm's interest and responsibilities to accommodate the wish of others, for example the client, so the result in both parties losing. Dia boleh jadi long term tu, dia akan both party ni boleh jadi lose, dua-dua kalah long term. Okay, so the difficulties with the habitual use of the accommodating approach is that it emphasizes preserving a friendly relationship. Kita biasanya kita guna the accommodate ni, kita nak preserve the long term relationship. But if the long term relationship ni dia tak involve the frequent interaction, it should be fine. Kalau kita tak ada interaksi yang kerap dengan individu tu, bolehlah kita amalkan accommodating ni. Tapi kalau ada interaction to involve frequent interaction, so then we need to reconsider the use of accommodating regularly in our interaction. Sebab for the long term frustration ni, dia akan bring the emotional or psychological effect on the first party. Dia akan bring the frustration tu akan bertambah-tambah. Okay. Okay, next one. Okay, dia berikutan dengan protecting the personal rights and focusing on productivity. Ini kita punya kadang-kadang kehormatan, okay, yang kita preserve dalam relationship tu. Okay, so this may result in others taking advantage. Ini kalau let's say kita ni jenis mengikut, so orang tu tengok kita ni sebagai orang yang mudah, senang. So senang untuk diambil kesempatan, which lowers their self-esteem. Okay, as they observe themselves being used by others to accomplish their objective while they fail to make any progress towards their own. Inilah kalau dalam organisasi nanti kita boleh tengok ada yang kambing hitam. Okay, so ini isu dia sebab dia accommodate, terlalu nak fulfill the needs of other people sampai dia punya self-esteem tu jadi rendah. Sampai dia tak boleh, for long term dia tak berani untuk say no for something that he or she didn't want to do. Okay. Next one, competing response. So competing response ni biasanya dilakukan oleh orang yang ada superior, yang lebih superior. Superior ni maksudnya dia ada kuasa yang lebih, more power. Power ni boleh jadi based on position, based on political party, based on money. Siapa yang pegang duit dalam keluarga, dalam small family, siapa yang breadwinner contohnya. Tak kira lah isteri ataupun suami, okay, dia boleh jadi dia akan ada superior sikit, ada kuasa, dia rasa kuasa lebih sikit, so dia ada tendency to use the competition. Dia akan cuba make sure yang dia menang dalam setiap argument. Okay, so competing ni referring to the assertive and uncooperative. Assertive ni maksudnya again dia cuba fulfill the needs of his or her own goal. Dia nak cuma nak capai matlamat dia. Okay, and then it is uncooperative. Sebab dia memang tak nak dengar. Dia tak nak dengar apa yang diceritakan oleh orang lain. Sebab bila kita pakai je teknik ni, dia akan berkait dengan teknik penyelesaian konflik lain. Contohnya active listening, empathy. Okay, yang tu kita akan cuba discuss lepas ni. Okay, so the individual attempt to satisfy our own needs at the expense of the needs of the other individual. Okay, so this can be done by using formal authority, sama ada dekat tempat kerja. Okay, kalau let's say boss kita ada higher position, physical threats, kalau orang tu ada badan yang lagi besar, tak kira lelaki atau perempuan, dia boleh jadi lelaki sebab benda ni, abuse ni, sebab benda ni boleh leads to abuse. Okay, domestic violence ke, physical abuse ke, okay, so dia akan boleh jadikan physical abuse, manipulation ploys, or by ignoring the claims of the other party. Dan dia boleh jadi sexual harassment, dia boleh lead to sexual harassment, dia boleh lead to violence, dia boleh lead to apa lagi? Bully at workplace pun dia boleh jadi. Okay, so the blatant use of the authority of office, for example, I'm the boss. Ini kalau kita tengok dia ada perbezaan, sebenarnya perbezaan antara generasi yang kita paling tengok, kita boleh tengok. Okay, the baby boomers dengan Z or Y generation. Kalau baby boomers ni, biasanya dia akan gunakan kuasa tu lebih sikit. I'm the boss, so we'll do it my way. Saya bos kat sini, so buat tu ikut cara saya. Dia dah tak guna the two-way communication. Okay, whatever it is, it must be from me. The top-down approach, contohnya. Okay, so or a related form of intimidation is generally evidence of a lack of tolerance or self-confidence. Okay, so the use of manipulation of feign ignorance is a much more subtle reflection of a self-centered leadership style. Ni pun ada, dia boleh menggambarkan gaya kepemimpinan yang diamalkan oleh seseorang individu. Okay, dia lebih kepada self-centered. Okay, and then manipulative leaders often appear to be democratic by suggesting that conflict proposals be referred to a committee for further investigation, but they ensure that the composition of the committee reflects their interest and preference, so that what appears to be a selection based on merit is actually an authoritarian act. Okay, so a related ploy that some managers use is to ignore a proposal that threatens their personal interest. So ini sebenarnya dia nak maintain his or her interest, so that's why dia akan guna competing ni. Okay, dia akan avoid the two-way communication or bottom up approach. Okay, dia akan guna top down. Okay, if the originator inquires about the disposition of his or her memo, for example, the manager pleads ignorance, blames the male clerk or new secretary, and then suggests that the proposal be redrafted. Ini sebenarnya banyak berlaku dalam organisasi. The mistake tu dia tak letak kat dia, tapi dia letak dekat orang lain. Ini contoh. Okay, next one. Okay, after several of these encounters, employees generally get the message that the boss is not interested in their ideas. Sebenarnya kalau kita terlalu amalkan competing approach ni for the long term, okay, it can cause dissatisfaction among employees. Kalau semua benda nak ikut boss without considering the opinion given by the subordinate, by the employees ni, so what the purpose of working within the organization? Right, sebab working within the organization other than to fulfill the goal of organization, then the employer also need to consider the needs of the employee as well. Right, sebab without the employee, the organization is nothing. Tak ada pekerja, macam mana organisasi nak buat operasi? So it should be the two-way. Okay, so the problem with the repeated use of this conflict management, which is the competing style, is that it breeds resentment and lowers morale. Dia boleh later on boleh can cause to turnover, high turnover rate, boleh jadi akan berlakunya deviant behavior. Tahu apa deviant behavior? Kelakuan yang di luar normal organisasi. Okay, while some observer may admire authoritarian or manipulative leaders because they appear to accomplish a great deal, their management styles generally produce a backlash in the long run as people become unwilling to absorb the emotional cost. For example, Tun Mahathir, what is the conflict resolution style that he used? Kalau kita tengok Datuk Seri Najib ataupun kita tengok Donald Trump, apa dia punya style conflict resolution yang digunakan? Kita boleh tengok the variation. Okay, so these are the competitive conflict escalation cycle. Okay, first dia akan start dengan triggering event. Okay, perception colored by negative feelings about previous conflict. Ini kalau konflik, kalau ada sebenarnya that's why seseorang tu, sebab kita dah di-embed based on our experience, based on our knowledge. So ada benda-benda yang kita dah traumatize. Okay, dan bila ada sesuatu event yang trigger kita, tak kira lah bila semasa kita memandu ke, kita been triggered by driver yang tiba-tiba memotong ke, any triggering event yang sebenarnya kita dah ada negative feelings toward that behavior dekat workplace ke. Okay, so initiation of conflict, so start off with an I'm right, you are wrong stance. Ini kalau spesifik untuk competition. Kalau kita dah nampak dah orang tu memang guna I'm right, you are wrong stance. Kadang-kadang the clue tu kita boleh nampak through the facial expression, through the eyes, apa lagi, through gaya tangan dia menunjuk, pointing towards you. Kita dah ada the clue that indicated that, so this is a negative feeling. Okay, so differentiation, then you make the differentiation between by increasing the negatively when partner respond with win-lose stance. Okay, and then for resolution phase, you prefer to use win-lose, creating an unresolved grievance that colors the next event. So kalau competing ni, that's why di dalam cycle dia tak habis. Okay, prelude to conflict, previously unresolved conflict. So dia akan berurutan. Okay, next one, compromising response. Okay, compromising response ni the one at the middle, which is small win-win situation. So it is located at the middle of the road approach, which means making sure that no one totally wins or lose. Ada setengah orang kata dia small win, small lose. Sebab dua-dua pihak kena sacrifice something to gain something. Okay, so by compromising, conflicting parties are settling for a workable solution rather than finding a totally mutually satisfying solution. Okay, dua-dua cuba fulfill sesuatu tapi cuba make the conflict work, tapi tidaklah menyelesaikan sepenuhnya konflik yang ada dalam kedua-dua pihak. Okay, so the steps in the process of compromising conflict communication are as follow. First, we determine the needs of the conflicting parties. Kita list down, kita duduk, kita bincang. Okay, maksudnya untuk compromising ni kedua-dua parti ni kena duduk bersama bincang. Okay, list down apa kita punya isu untuk kedua-dua pihak. Okay, if everyone has a legitimate claim, maksudnya kalau konflik kita ni boleh diklaim secara legal, secara undang-undang. So examine the outcome for determine whether everyone can receive an equal or fair share of the claim. Tengoklah, kalau let's say isu yang diperbincangkan adalah berkaitan dengan perebutan harta pusaka. Contoh, antara adik-beradik, okay, in which you can proceed with legal action. So macam mana kita nak divide satu tanah, setengah hektar tanah, setengah hektar in which kita tahu yang kita tak boleh, kalau setengah hektar ni kita tak boleh nak divide dua sebab dia kecil, right? Kan? So macam mana, let's say you nak jual tanah tu then divide by equal portion, ke macam mana? Okay, contoh, tapi dua-dua tak settle lah sebenarnya, dua-dua tak dapat. Tanah tu just dapat money je lah. Okay, so if dividing the claims works, so give everyone involved his or her share of the claim. Itu sahaja. Tapi kita sebenarnya tak fully address the conflict. Okay, so we are reminded of stereotype depictions of siblings. Ni adik-beradik arguing over inherited property. So ini yang biasa berlaku lah. Compromising would involve selling the property with the proceed evenly distributed to each of the sibling. Sebab kadang-kadang dalam konflik ni, konflik tu bukannya kita nak reach, kita nak dapat the visible outcome saja, bukan. Sometimes it also involve the invisible outcomes. The most obvious example is the case between the recent case between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Siapa yang follow case tu, saya tak tahulah you all follow tu sebab because they are dia orang ni orang glamour ke, I'm not sure, but I follow the case because I'm interested with the case. I'm interested with the whole case. Regarding the body language for both parties, either Amber Heard ataupun Johnny Depp, the interaction, how does they interact, how does the legal action happen, how does the procedures happen, worldwide kot. Okay, and then what are the claims, proposed by both parties. Okay, kan, so yang hujungnya adalah pemenangnya adalah Johnny Depp. So but kalau kita tengok dalam case Johnny Depp ni, okay, the main purpose is not the money. I think the purpose is not the money, but the self-respect. Yang dia nak adalah self-respect, which is something that is invisible. Kita nak menang tu bukan sebab nak menang the money. It's not because of the money, right? But because of something that is invisible, yang very significant to the person. Dia nak pulihkan maruah dia. Itu contoh. Okay, so there are occasions where compromising can contribute positively to the outcomes in a conflict situation, especially in the situation in which all parties cannot have everything they want. So biasanya sebenarnya inilah yang banyak berlaku. Sebab we need to realize that we cannot have everything. Tak boleh semua. Okay, but compromising can also contribute negatively to the outcomes if all parties exchange offer and make concessions and walk away from the conflict feeling dissatisfied with the outcome. Ini yang masalah lah. Dua-dua sebenarnya dia dapat tapi dia tak really satisfied. Kalau kita boleh bersyukur dengan the portion that we receive, it should be fine. Tapi ada pihak sebenarnya dia masih tak puas hati because he or she thinks that he deserve more. Itu masalah. So in the case of an inheritance, for example, some sibling may believe that they did more to help their parents. Contohnya, dalam kes pembahagian harta pusaka tadi, ada adik-beradik yang masa sebelum mak ayah dia meninggal, dia rasa dia spend masa lama untuk jaga mak ayah dia yang sakit. So dia believe that dia deserve lebih. Portionnya sepatutnya bukan 50-50. Dia sepatutnya boleh jadi 60-40 or 70-30. Okay, so So as a strategy favoring trade-off involving give and take, compromising is designed as a realistic attempt to seek an acceptable but not necessarily preferred solution of gains and lose for everyone involved. Okay, so this strategy is not ideal because regardless of the initial objective, in the end, neither party may win everything using it, as they both lose at least some of what they would have liked to achieve. Dia tak semualah dia dapat, so kita kena aware this one. Okay. Okay, next one, the most effective one, but the most difficult strategy to be achieved is collaborating. Collaborate. Okay, so collaboration means using integrative behaviors and developing mutually satisfying agreements to solve the problem once and for all. Dia sama macam yang compromising ni. Okay, cuma collaborating ni, the procedure is quite similar, but in collaborating ni, both parties try to meet, try to address all the needs of both parties. Sebab itu dalam collaborating ni dia akan ambil masa yang lama berbanding approach lain. Okay, so collaboration has two essential ingredients. First, it consists of integrative behavior such as cooperation, collective action, okay, and mutual assistance. Okay, dua-dua pihak kena bekerjasama, kena spend masa sama-sama, kena duduk bersama. Okay, so when people collaborate, they work together toward the same ends in incompatible roles. Okay, we call this teamwork. So we work together. To an observer, the collaborator appear to work side by side and hand in hand. Kena kerja sekali untuk kita settlekan kedua-dua isu. Okay, so this approach is in direct contrast to opposing or competing individuals who counteract, antagonize and work against one another. So dia adalah respon yang terbalik daripada competing. The second ingredient, collaboration means that the partners have in mind the same goal. Kedua-dua pihak ni kalau kita nak guna collaborative response ni, dua-dua pihak kena ada mindset yang sama. Kita nak capai benda yang sama, which is nak resolve the conflict. Okay? So which is to strive for a mutually satisfying solution to the conflict. Mutually satisfying solution in meaning that it is win-win outcome. Dua-dua dapat apa yang dituntut. Okay, dua-dua pihak dapat apa yang dituntut. Okay, so collaboration not only emphasize one's own self-interest. Dia bukan sahaja kita nak fulfill kita punya keperluan ataupun need kita, but also respect the other's interest, needs and goal. Dua-dua kita nak fulfill. Okay, so while collaboration may involve confronting differences, so it requires a focusing on the problem and includes sharing information. So dua-dua kena share, kena ikhlas, kena jujur, kena bagi tahu apa yang dia nak atau apa yang dia expect dalam sesuatu hubungan. Okay, so about everyone's needs, goals and interests. So kita kena lebih jujur dalam mengutarakan ataupun lebih transparent in addressing or in revealing our interest, goals and needs. Okay. Okay, so these are the comparison of the 5 conflict resolution approaches. So tadi kita ada competing, avoiding, compromising, accommodating and collaborating. So inilah dia perbezaannya. So kalau kita tengok competing ni, to get your way. Maksudnya kita apa yang saya cakap ni adalah muktamad, finalize, final and finalize. Okay. So avoiding ni, avoid having to deal with the conflict. Kiralah apa yang kita buat, bila kita jumpa je kita mengelak, ataupun bila kita nampak je bos kita masuk pintu depan, kita keluar pintu belakang. Mengelak. Okay, so kalau compromising ni, we want to reach the agreement as quickly, soon possible. Sebab kita tak nak benda tu berlarutan. Okay, and then accommodating ni, do not upset the other person. Kita tak nak mengecewakan pihak lagi satu. Mungkin dia start sebab kita sayang, ataupun mungkin sebab kita takut. Okay, and then collaborating, we solve the problem together. Okay, ini tak apa. Okay, so the outcomes ni dah lah. Okay, so basically okay, not all conflict can be resolved through negotiation. Negotiation ni dia boleh jadi, kalau dalam organisasi kita guna the term bargaining. Ada konflik sebenarnya walaupun kita dah cuba selesaikan secara langsung bersama dengan kedua pihak yang kita berkonflik tetapi the issue still cannot be resolved. Still tak boleh di-resolve. Okay, so what's next? Adakah konflik tu sampai bila-bila tak boleh diselesaikan? No, we have another option, which is we proceed with the third party. Okay, the third party. So the third party ni we use, okay, the third party we use when we cannot resolve the conflict or the dispute directly with our opponent. Kita tak boleh. Kita dah tak boleh selesaikan. Contohnya konflik berkenaan dengan bising, noise, gangguan. Okay, gangguan yang dibuat oleh jiran. Hujung minggu je jiran buka radio kuat, buka lagu yang kuat. Okay, kita dah pergi cakap, pergi bincang tapi tak juga berjaya diselesaikan. So what's next? Maybe kita boleh decide to jumpa ketua residence ataupun ketua kampung, ketua JKK. Contoh, okay, third party. Okay, dan kenapa pihak ketiga ni nak jadi pihak ketiga? Kenapa dia nak jadi pihak ketiga? Okay, pihak ketiga bukan pihak ketiga dalam hubungan percintaan, dalam konteks ni bukan. Okay, bukan dalam hubungan percintaan tu, bukan. Itu perosak hubungan. Okay, bukannya pihak ketiga yang membantu. Okay, so kenapa pihak ketiga ni nak membantu? First, to gain something. To gain something. Gain something ni not necessarily money. Yang macam yang kita tengok macam lawyer Siti Bainon contohnya. To gain something. Tak semestinya duit saja. Popularity. Sekarang ni popular lah. Kan? Last time kita tak ada social media. So kalau you menang case pun tak ada siapa tahu. Unless between the conflicting parties only. Between the disputants. But nowadays we have TikTok, we have Instagram, we have Facebook. So whenever you win the case, you can post it in the social media. So you gain the popularity. Okay. So it can be a material for all social, okay, in the form of increased status and reputation. Kalau kita tengok lawyer Johnny Depp, apa nama dia? Siapa ingat? Kukutlah ada yang tengok. Ada siapa-siapa tengok tak? Ke saya seorang je yang tengok? Anybody remember the Johnny Depp's lawyer? Oi, bagusnya. Anybody remember?
Tak ingat nama doktor.
Alamak.
Camille.
Camille Vaz. Betul? Camille Vaz. Memang di Vaz. Okay. So Camille Vaz, kalau kita tengok, I'm not sure lah, but I'm sure that she received she received quite amount of money lah. I'm sure lah. Case Johnny Depp ni kan. But other thing is she received reputation. When she won the case, it increased her reputation as a lawyer. Tapi kalau kita tengok background pun, kalau kita tengok background dia pun memang sebelum ni pun she's been entitled as the one to watch lah. Memang the reputation is very good. Tapi dalam case tu pun dia lagi increase status dia tu. Okay, dia punya rate pun akan tinggi lagi lah lepas ni. Okay, so a supervisor who persuade two squabbling subordinates to cooperate benefits from their ability to refocus again on their work, thereby improving her department's productivity. So kalau dalam situasi macam ni, ni kena stress, kena jadi garang sikit lah. Contohnya the konflik yang berlaku dalam organisasi, konflik yang biasa berlaku. Contohnya dia dibuli daripada konteks tak kira lah dalam sentuhan ke, di-track ke, ataupun dipanggil dengan panggilan yang tak digemari ke. Okay, mentang-mentang dia kecil panggil kecil ke, atau mentang-mentang dia rendah panggil pendek ke, contoh. Okay, panggilan-panggilan yang tak digemari. So sebenarnya because at one organisation that I work with, dia memang ada isu yang employee sampai nak berhenti. Sebab dia rasa disebabkan panggilan-panggilan itu dia rasa dia isolated. Sebenarnya in terms of performance dia okay pada awalnya, tapi when the case tu frequently happening, he feel frustrated with the case. Okay, then dia punya productivity tu drop. Dia rasa tak nak datang kerja, feel demotivated. Dia tak rasa nak contribute towards the team. towards the, kalau let's say in the production line production line among the general categories employee, for example, okay, dia ada goal diri dia dan dia ada goal team goal. So dia tak kisah the achievement of the team goal. Dia akan reduce the productivity, bukan sahaja productivity dia, tapi productivity the whole team. Okay, and then other thing is to get the fixed payoff lah kalau untuk yang the third party ni. Kalau let's say dia bekerja sebagai peguam, untuk dia dapatkan bayaran lah. Okay. So ini intervention process secara umum intervention process when we want to resolve the conflict by using the third party. Okay, we use the intervener. Intervener ni the third party. Okay, third party nanti kita tengok ada beberapa jenis pihak ketiga. Okay, dan pihak ketiga ni dia ada approach dia ada pendekatan dia. Dan senang bila saya sebut approach ni, you all ingat balik yang 5 style tadi, 5 gaya tadi. Okay, then yang kedua, yang seterusnya the disputant. Disputant ni pihak yang berkonflik. Pihak yang berkonflik dia ada tingkah laku dia dan dia ada outcomes yang dia nak. Okay, behavior ni boleh jadi agresif, very cooperative, depending on the disputant lah. Okay, and then the result, either the conflict to resolve ataupun unresolved. Okay, and then either the interveners gain or lose. Dua benda sama ya. Okay, is the two squabbling subordinate respond to the supervisor's intervention by cooperating. So she gains from having successfully resolved a conflict at work. But if they keep on disagreeing even after she intervened, for example, orang HR. Kenapa HR ni kita ajar dengan gaya penyelesaian konflik? Sebab apa? Sebab dalam organisasi ni, orang yang handle domestic inquiry siapa dia? Siapa dia yang handle domestic inquiry?
HR.
HR. Siapa dia yang pakai makeup tebal dekat organisasi? Because that is the purpose. The makeup tu with purpose. Dia bukannya to attract people attention, but to make sure that whenever we deal with the employee, so they feel at ease. Kan nak deal dengan konflik, nak deal dengan orang-orang yang berkonflik ni dengan muka yang masam, takkanlah kita nak datang dengan serabai, lagilah stres orang tu. Okay, with purpose. Makeup ke gaya ke itu with purpose, not to attract people. But to make the discussion more calmful, lebih tenang, lebih less comfortable. Okay? Okay. Okay, so the time, the effort invested in the intervention are lost, so the supervisor's reputation might suffer and then the harmful dispute remains unresolved. Okay? Okay, so next one, the third party intervener. Who are the third party intervener ni? Siapa dia? So kita reflect diri kita kan, ingat third party ni not necessarily lawyer. Not all conflict should be resolved at the court. Tak kira lah labor court ke ataupun dekat civil court ke, tak semestinya. Syariah court ke, tak semestinya. The court is the last resort. Keep in mind. Kita keep in mind untuk kita punya konflik ataupun kita keep in mind bila kita nak bantu orang lain untuk menyelesaikan masalah. Court is not the final resort. Court is the final resort. Itu option terakhir kita. Okay, untuk selesaikan konflik. Kalau boleh, cuba elakkan. Selesaikan konflik tu sama ada di mahkamah buruh ataupun mahkamah sivil ataupun mahkamah syariah. So maksudnya konflik di sini bukanlah sahaja konflik di tempat kerja, dia boleh jadi konflik rumah tangga, dia boleh jadi konflik dengan jiran, konflik dengan society, boleh jadi any konflik. Okay? So third party ni is actors who achieve access to the parties and issues and whose manifest intention was to prevent the conflict from escalating. So third party ni siapa dia? Orang yang ada akses dekat kedua-dua pihak yang berkonflik. Dia ada akses. Sebab tak semua orang ada akses. Kalau kita gaduh dengan mak kita, adakah jiran kita boleh intervene? Tak boleh. Kan? Kalau kita gaduh dengan jiran sebelah, adakah kawan kita kat kampung sebelah boleh intervene? Tak. Kalau kita ada konflik dengan subordinate kita, adakah kawan kita daripada organisasi lain boleh intervene? Tak. Okay, not everybody. Tapi kalau third party ni maksudnya orang yang ada access to the conflict. Maksudnya access tu dia boleh tahu perjalanan cerita konflik tu, dia boleh tahu maklumat yang dikongsi dalam konflik tersebut. Okay, dia boleh propose cadangan macam mana nak menyelesaikan konflik tersebut and so on. Okay, so intermediary activity undertaken by a third party with the primary intention of achieving some compromise settlement. Dia cuba untuk at least dapatkan penyelesaian secara compromise. Compromise kat mana? Kat tengah-tengah tadi. At least small win to win by both parties. Okay, of the issues at stake between the parties, or at least ending disruptive conflict behavior indulged in by both parties. At least, walaupun kalau let's say tak dapat juga compromise settlement, at least boleh selesaikan konflik kedua-dua pihak. Okay, so any action taken by an actor that is not a direct party to the crisis, maksudnya pihak ketiga ni dia bukan orang yang direct. Orang direct ni maksudnya pihak yang berkonflik tu sendiri. Third party ni pihak yang ketiga, which is indirect. Okay, that is designed to reduce or remove one or more of the problems of the bargaining relationship and therefore to facilitate the termination of the crisis itself. So kalau kita tengok, the first keyword kat here adalah facilitate. Peranan third party ni sebenarnya dia memainkan peranan sebagai facilitator, memudah cara pihak yang berkonflik. Okay, so other typologies used to represent the third party ni, formal and informal third party. Dia boleh jadi formal. Maksudnya untuk jadi third party ni tak semestinya orang yang ada pendidikan yang tinggi ataupun ada qualification. Dia boleh jadi semua yang ada pengaruh dalam masyarakat pun boleh jadi third party. Ataupun dalam our daily interaction pun, bila kita berinteraksi dengan adik-beradik kita. Okay, adik pertama dengan adik kedua kita bergaduh. Kita jadi the third party. Contoh. Okay, dia boleh jadi internal and external third party, contractual and emergent third parties, horizontal and vertical third parties. Ni nama lain lah. Okay. Okay, so formal and informal third party ni referring, kalau formal ni individual or group officially employed to help resolve a conflict or find a peaceful solution that satisfies both parties. So professional mediators and professional arbitrators are the example lah. Okay, ini contoh. Okay, kalau informal, dia boleh jadi friends, family members and trusted others that individuals turn to for support after experiencing conflict. So activated when a mediator enters a conflict on its own initiative. So kalau dalam family kita tengoklah, boleh tengok. Kalau bergaduh, kalau adik-beradik bergaduh tu adalah yang ketiga tu yang akan menyelesaikan. Okay. Okay, next one. Contractual and emergent third party. So kalau contract ni he or she performed by a conflict management specialist. Okay, so have no interest in the conflict or the outcome and use pre-existing procedure to resolve the conflict specified by the predetermined rules and regulation, not an insider or outsider. Okay, but emergent third party ni non-specialist who typically has an ongoing relationship with the disputant and often has a stake in the outcome of the dispute, elected spontaneously within the same setup or insider. Dia macam non-formal lah, non-formal third party. Vertical and horizontal third party biasanya banyak digunakan dalam health and medicine area. Kalau vertical ni deals with specific health condition, specific targeting, operates from above or higher level than as the disputants are. Maksudnya vertical ni kita akan gunakan orang yang ada power lagi tinggi lah. Okay, to resolve the conflict. Kalau horizontal ni yang sama line, vertical yang menegak. Okay, so horizontal ni services involving prevention and care for prevailing health problems. So he or she resolve the general target, emerge from and operates at the same level as the disputants are. Dia boleh jadi our clique. Okay, sama dia punya level. Okay. So third party actors may include private individual, boleh jadi individu persendirian, organisasi, pihak pengurusan dalam organisasi, okay, professional organisation, sama ada firma guaman, okay, community mediation center, contohnya Malaysia Mediation Center, MMC. Kita ada MMC, Malaysia Mediation Center. Okay, ataupun bawah Jabatan Perdana Menteri pun ada satu during the COVID-19. Right, betul tak? Jabatan mediasi COVID-19 ada dengar tak dalam iklan? Okay, itu pun salah satu Okay, non-governmental organisation, NGO. Okay, NGO ni macam yang apa nama? Yusof Azmi. Ataupun Persatuan Pengguna Islam. Itu pun boleh jadi. Okay, so the state boleh jadi domestic involvement ataupun international involvement. Ni dia boleh jadi kementerian luar negara. Boleh jadi international affairs. Okay, regional organisation, United Nation, UNCHR ataupun Allah saya lupa, yang Islamic Kesatuan Islam Sedunia tu. Itu pun boleh jadi. Okay, the role of third party in conflict resolution. So apa peranan dia? Apa peranan pihak ketiga ni? Ini secara umum So nanti kita akan tengok according to the types. Okay, dia akan jadi catalyst. Catalyst ni to act, to bring two parties to consider negotiation to resolve their conflict. Kalau catalyst ni, dia cuba pujuk kedua-dua pihak untuk berunding balik. To negotiate balik, berunding balik. Okay, facilitator to provide a site and administrative arrangement for a discussion by two parties. Okay, educator to explain to a party, for example, the domestic politics of another party as it affects the negotiating process. Sounding board to provide a party with reaction as to the acceptability of its proposal. Summarizer, which is to provide an objective record of discussion between two parties. Contohnya bila kedua-dua pihak tu tengah berbincang mengenai konflik dia, so the third party ni akan summarize the content or the idea that has been discussed by both parties, so that kita keep track, kita make sure kedua-dua pihak ni tidak pergi tempat lain, tidak bincang perkara yang tak sepatutnya. Okay, so translator or interpreter to explain what one party actually means in a proposal that can otherwise appear negative or unclear. So kadang-kadang during the communication, bila kita communicate our means to another party, so because of the differences, individual differences yang ada due to the uniqueness of the individual, kadang-kadang maklumat yang kita sampaikan tu tidak dapat diterima dengan sepenuhnya oleh pihak kedua. That's why we need the second party. Contoh yang paling mudah, kalau seorang tu konflik, contohnya perkahwinan yang melibatkan multiracial marriage, mixed marriage lah. Satu mungkin Siam, satu lagi Kelantanis. In which Siam ni contohnya dia tak boleh bercakap dalam bahasa Melayu dengan fluent. Contoh. Okay, so jadi we need the interpreter, which is the third party, to explain, okay, whatever point that is unclear to the second party. Okay, so it can be he or she can be the bridge builder, which is to provide a basis for two parties to achieve contact when neither is able to prepare to go the necessary distance. Okay, ni banyak lagi lah. Ni. Okay, characteristic of third party. Apa karakter dia? Okay, so it must be a skilled scholar or practitioner. Skill, kena ada skill. Okay, sebab tu skill ni kadang-kadang kita tak perlu belajar dekat formal class pun. You can learn from experience. Itu kalau saya nak tanya, leader ni was born ataupun can be trained? Mana satu? Leader is born or trained?
Can be trained.
Train. Kita sebagai orang HR, kita kena keep in mind yang leader ni kita boleh train. Maksudnya belum terlambat lagi kalau kita tengok bos kita dalam organisasi tu very autocratic. So kita boleh cakap, kita boleh conclude kat diri kita belum terlambat lagi untuk kita train dia to be a good leader. Okay? Tak semua leader tu, memang ada leader yang dilahirkan dengan that gifted, dia memang diberi kebolehan tu. Ada. Tapi sebagai orang HR, we need to remind ourselves that this skill as a good leader can be trained. But it takes time lah. Okay. Okay, so a skilled scholar or practitioner whose backgrounds, attitudes or behavior engender impartiality. Ini dia punya quality yang paling penting to be the third party. Impartial. Okay, impartial ni dia tak bias mana-mana pihak. That's why kalau kita tengok contoh yang paling senang adalah lawyer. Bukan lawyer, hakim. Sebab tu hakim dia punya prosedur ni dia tak boleh bergaul dengan orang biasa. Kalau kita tengok, kalau let's say kita ada relatif kita yang bekerja sebagai hakim ni, jangan rasa dia berlagak sebab dia tak berkawan dengan relatif dia. Sebab memang itu nature kerja dia. Okay, nature kerja dia macam tu. Dia tak boleh simply bergaul dengan orang ramai untuk mengelakkan bias ni. Dia akan keep his or her life very private. Okay. And whose professional knowledge and expertise enable the facilitation of productive confrontation. So dia tahu macam mana nak memastikan confrontation tu boleh diselesaikan ataupun boleh diuruskan secara produktif. Dia kena ada skill lah, dia kena ada knowledge, dan probably dia kena ada qualification, tapi qualification tak wajib. Tambah-tambah kalau yang melibatkan community conflict. Okay, and then should have moderate knowledge, at least ada moderate knowledge of the parties. Tak semestinya personally we know about the parties, tak semestinya tapi kita ada knowledge sikit. Okay, low power over them. Okay, and high control over the consultation situation. Dari segi social power kita tak semestinya ada lebih power, tapi kita ada high control, maksudnya kita ada skill untuk to control the consultation situation. Kita ada skill tu. Okay. Okay, so these are the types of conflict resolution strategies. Kalau kita tengok tadi saya dah discuss berkenaan dengan negotiation. Negotiation ni di mana konflik itu diselesaikan sendiri oleh kedua-dua pihak. Okay, the two disputants sit together to discuss their conflict. Duduk berdua. Okay, conciliation ni dia dah start orang ketiga, conciliator. Okay, kalau kita tengok conciliator ni dia orang ketiga, facilitate, tapi dia still ada interaksi antara kedua-dua pihak ni, pihak yang berkonflik. Okay, mediator. Kalau mediator ni konflik bila jadi orang tengah ni, konflik tu akan diutarakan. Kedua pihak yang berkonflik ni tak lagi berbincang mengenai konflik dia orang secara berdua. Okay, so konflik tu akan melalui mediator, orang ketiga. Okay, dan bila kita tengok orang ketiga ni, kita tengok arrow dia adalah two-way arrow. Maksudnya dia akan melibatkan perbincangan di antara the disputants and the mediator. Tapi kalau kita proceed dengan arbitration, kita dah start tengok dia dah ada one way arrow. Satu arrow sahaja. So banyak arahan tu sebenarnya daripada arbitrator. So the decision tu comes from the arbitrator. The last one kita tengok litigation. Litigation yang paling senang kita tengok court case, civil court case. Okay. Nanti okay. So kalau kita tengok from left to right, power of the individual. Kalau kita tengok based on the 5 conflict resolution method ni, okay, kalau kita tengok dari segi power of the individual ni referring to the power of the disputants in resolving the conflict. From left to right, reduce. Okay, bila kita guna direct negotiation ni, disputants have lot of power to express all the dissatisfaction that he or she has. Okay, tapi bila sampai kat litigation ni, dia tak ada kuasa dia sangat kurang. Okay, all the final decision is been decided by other people, either you like it or not. Okay, dan kalau kita tengok level of coercion, ni the relationship is inverse with the power of the individual. Kan, maksudnya bila kita bila keputusan sesuatu isu kita terpaksa terima keputusan yang ditentukan oleh orang lain, so maksudnya the level of coercion, tahap paksaan tu makin tinggi. Kita terpaksa menerima walaupun kita tak puas hati dengan keputusan yang diberikan. Okay, dan kita tengok importance of relationship from left to right pun reduce. Okay, importance of relationship. Maksudnya sebenarnya kalau kita proceed dengan litigation ni, the chance for us to sit together to eat our lunch or dinner together will be gone. Tak ada dah. Kalau sebelum ni memang duk berkepit satu bantal, okay, macam kes Sheila Rosli and Jana Nick, for example, even though it's not been yet in the court, tapi kalau kita tengok memang bantal pun tak ke mana dah. Okay, that one is for example. Okay, Kita start dengan conciliation. So any question regarding the direct negotiation ni? Ada soalan tak? Direct negotiation. Tak ada So kita proceed dengan conciliation. So kalau tak ada soalan ni, so then you can proceed with the assignment lah. Make sure you submit the summary first. Summary for the second and third assignment. Okay, summary tu bila when you submit the summary, you automatically will get 2 marks. Saya tak akan deduct marks pun. Okay, I just need to check either the proposed conflict is based on what we want or not. Itu sahaja. Kalau tak kena, then I will correct, I will comment. Okay, then you improve accordingly. Okay, you improve accordingly. Itu sahaja. Then automatically you submit je dapat 2 marks. Okay, then you all tanya lagi, doktor nak submit kat email ke? Nak submit kat copy ke? Geram pula rasa. Okay, please submit through Dropbox. Please read my instruction. Okay, submit through Dropbox. Okay, the email mana pula nak pakai? Gmail, dah letak dah kat situ. Please use my Gmail. Okay. Okay. We done this one. Okay, we start with conciliation. So conciliation is an alternative out of court dispute resolution instrument. So first kita kena ingat, first macam saya kata tadi, court case untuk resolve the conflict at the court ni, itu adalah penyelesaian terakhir. Kalau case terbaru, macam contoh case apa tu, siapa suami Syah Al-Yahya tu?
Awal.
Awal Asyari. Contoh Awal Asyari. Sebenarnya satu penganiayaan lah untuk dia. Sebenarnya bila kes tu dibawa ke mahkamah, sebenarnya the management residence tu boleh je discuss baik-baik. Boleh je sebenarnya. So dia sebenarnya kalau boleh the last resort. Okay. So it is voluntary. Conciliation is a voluntary, flexible, confidential and interest-based process. Sebenarnya tu saya kata, sebenarnya boleh diselesaikan secara conciliation je dulu. Okay, so in which the parties seek to reach an amicable dispute settlement with the existence of a conciliator who acts as a neutral third party. Okay, so at some point during the conciliation, okay, the conciliator will be asked by the parties to provide them with a non-binding settlement proposal. Okay, so biasanya siapa yang rajin buat kertas proposal ni? Biasanya orang-orang yang profesional lah. Memang dia bekerja, dia diupah. Sebab tu dia rajin buat proposal ni. Okay. So the conciliator ni sebenarnya dia sediakan non-binding settlement in which the the rule ataupun the items within the proposal ni sebenarnya di-agreed atau dipersetujui oleh kedua-dua pihak. Okay. Sebenarnya the main idea is still from the disputed. The third party ni semua sediakan sahaja. Okay, so the conciliation is a voluntary proceeding where the parties involved are free to agree and attempt to resolve their dispute by conciliation. Maksudnya first bila kita nak buat conciliation ni, kedua-dua pihak ni bersetuju nak lantik orang ketiga ni. Dan dia setuju orang ketiga ni dilantik. Okay, dia bersetuju itu dulu. Okay, tak ada paksaan. Dua-dua pihak nak. Okay, so the process is flexible. Flexible ni maksudnya boleh dibuat di mana-mana. Di rumah A, di rumah B, di kedai kopi, di Starbucks, di McDonald, mana-mana sahaja. Okay, allowing parties to define the time. Kita boleh tentukan masa yang mana kita nak pergi, pukul 4 pagi ke, pukul 4 malam ke. 4 petang, malam tak ada. Okay, structure and content. Structure macam mana kita nak sesi conciliation tu berlangsung. Okay, of the conciliation proceeding. So these proceedings are rarely public. Sebab tu kita sebenarnya kes awal syari tu boleh diselesaikan secara conciliation sahaja berdua. Okay, di kedai kopi ataupun di Starbucks. Kalau mereka ni Starbucks lah dah. Okay. So they are interest based. Sebab kita nak menjaga aib kedua-dua pihak contohnya. So as the conciliator will then proposing a settlement, not only take into account the parties' legal position but also their commercial, financial and personal interest. Okay, walaupun the conciliation ni propose the non-binding settlement proposal, okay, tapi item dalam tu dia non-binding. Maksudnya belum tentu lagi benda tu boleh dituntut kalau let's say the case dibawa ke mahkamah, but dia boleh jadi evidence. Okay, when the case was brought to the court, dia boleh. Tapi tak semestinya non-binding. Maksudnya kedua-dua pihak at any time dia boleh minta untuk withdraw from the discussion. Anytime. It's non-binding. Okay. So the ultimate decision to agree and on the settlement remains with the party. Kalau kedua-dua pihak bersetuju, then setuju. Kalau tak setuju, tak setuju. Okay. Okay, ni contoh kita tengok contoh conciliation video. Dia macam discussion lah. Hold on Nampak tak? Nampak tak? Tak nampak lagi kan? Okay, hold on saya kena share balik.
I'm Helen and I'm a conciliation officer. The ACCS, or the Accident Compensation Conciliation Service, is here as a first step to assist injured workers and their work cover agent or employer to resolve disputes involving workers' compensation claims. Conciliation is a free service. Our role is to bring the parties together, to encourage discussion, to help them see each other's point of view and assist them in reaching an agreement. We're independent, we don't take sides. Our aim is to avoid the dispute being referred to a court unnecessarily. So it's up to everyone to try and resolve the dispute before it gets to that level. We're not a court and I'm not a judge. Conciliation officers have limited powers to make decisions. We don't like to talk about winning or losing. It's about trying to find outcomes that everyone can accept. Unfortunately, sometimes that's not always possible. We can't always reach an agreement on the day, but we try our best. The system is designed to reduce the stress and the time and the costs for everyone. A matter usually can't be referred to court unless you've come here first and done your best to resolve the dispute. So if an agreement really can't be reached, we can provide you with a document that allows you to take it to court. I've actually got a conciliation conference coming up now.
Yeah, this is my first time at the conciliation service. I had a few issues that we couldn't resolve with the work cover agent and my employer, so here we are. When I sent off that request for conciliation form, I thought it would all happen pretty quickly, but it actually took a number of weeks to get the conference organised, which was good because when I got the letter with the appointment, it gave me enough time to get all my paperwork in order, especially the medical reports. Did you bring that first one, the one from your GP? Yeah, that's the one.
There you go. So I've got copies of all the documents for our reference.
That was the first thing I had to do. Fill in a consent form and get that sent off to all my doctors.
And the physio.
Physio's a doctor, so. All the medical reports got sent off to the conciliation people before the conference.
So I've got copies for them, copies for us just in case, and I've got all the paperwork they sent us.
Oh, and my notes, yeah. I made some notes, just questions that I wanted to ask, that sort of thing. So far, the hardest bit's been parking. They said the conference could go for an hour and a half, so we've got a 2-hour park. So I got the park, got the paperwork, we're all set.
Got me too.
Got a side too, which is good. I get nervous, so they said I could have a support person there. They actually said that we could have 2 support people, Soph as a personal support and a workers assistant who's meeting us in there.
And that ACCS website really helped. So it was good, wasn't it? And also the brochure that came with the DVD.
Yeah, it answered a few questions. It helped actually. So onwards and upwards.
We might have multiple meetings going on in these rooms at any time, so we try and keep it as informal as possible. We have tea and coffee if people want it. We try to ensure that people are comfortable. It can be stressful, but conciliation is about an open dialogue between all the parties involved. And in the majority of cases, the dispute is resolved here. We also stop for breaks if people need it. Sometimes it can get a bit emotional for people, or if someone's been injured, they may not be able to sit still for very long. Either way, we're here to make it as easy as we can. It's usually pretty straightforward as long as everyone comes prepared. We send out letters to the workers that sets out exactly what they need to have completed and returned to us before they come in, as well as anything they need to bring along on the day. They can also call us here at the Conciliation Service if they have any questions about the process before they come in. They won't always speak to a conciliation officer assigned to their case, but there's plenty of people here who can give them assistance. We can arrange interpreters for anyone, employers or workers. They just need to advise us of their needs well in advance of the conference date. We deal with a wide range of nationalities here, so if someone needs help communicating, we can make that happen. If someone has requested an interpreter, it's always a good idea to arrive about 15 minutes early so everyone has a chance to meet before the conference. And of course, we also expect that everyone arrives prepared to listen to the other side. So ideally, the parties should reach their own resolution.
We have to meet Anna. She's my, what did she say?
Assistant.
Assistant, yeah. I mean, I've got Soph here as a personal support, which is good. But they reckon it's a good idea to have someone here who knows how the conciliation process works as well. So you can choose someone from your union, but if you're not in the union, then work cover assist if you want.
And apparently, if you want to have a few support people, you just have to make sure everyone's okay with that. I guess so they don't end up with a room full of people.
They even said we could have our own lawyer if we wanted, as long as everyone else agreed.
But hopefully we'll get it sorted without any lawyers at all.
Yeah, hopefully.
We often know the agents and the workers' assistant. It's because we all deal with each other on a regular basis. Of course, everyone stays professional and we remain impartial. That's our job.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Simon. I'm from your work cover agent. Simon Bruce. Did I talk to you about the claim? That would have been someone from my office. I just do a conciliation. So thanks for coming in early. Let's have a quick chat before the conference.
Yeah. So how involved am I in this? Do I just let you do the talk?
Well, I'm here to explain work cover's decision, but you should be prepared to put your case forward. Everyone's included in the discussions.
All right. Okay.
Looks like Jim's met with his assistant. That's good. Well, it's almost time to gather the parties and do the introductions.
Look, we've got different opinions, sure. I mean, that's why we're here, but I don't see it as a context. I see it as a chance to raise the issues and hopefully get everything sorted. I have to go in now.
Okay. Let me just start by introducing all the parties involved and reminding everyone of the purpose of our meeting today and what my role is. My role is not to judge. I can't say who's right or wrong. It's to help the discussion so that some kind of resolution can be reached. Now, we're here to discuss the decision notice and all parties will get a chance to put their thoughts and perspectives forward. So try not to interrupt, even if you hear something you don't agree with. Just hold on until it's your turn. We'll also probably break at some stage for some private discussions. If you do need a break, just ask for one. And I'll need mobile phones turned off, not silent, off. Okay?
Okay, kalau perasan, the first stage of the conciliation ni, dia akan ada opening stage. Opening stage ni di mana the conciliator tu akan bagi tahu, akan inform the rules of conciliation. Macam mana dia nak conduct the conciliation process. Tapi kalau awal tadi kita tengok, conciliation dia dah terangkan apa itu conciliation. Conciliation ni dia bukan seorang judge, dia bukan hakim. Dia sahaja membantu sahaja both party discuss. Okay, so then kedua-dua parti kena prepare dokumen masing-masing. Dokumen proof apa semua. And then both party bila dia nak proceed dengan conciliation ni, make sure dia bukan dalam mind yang compete. Macam yang Simon kata tadi, kita tak nak compete, but we want to sort things out. Kita nak selesaikan isu. Maksudnya dua-dua kena faham yang dalam conciliation kita bukan nak compete, tapi kita nak selesaikan isu. Apa yang kita boleh accommodate. Okay? So first ingat bila pilih conciliation, dia ada sebenarnya sama yang conciliation, mediation, litigation, semua dia sebenarnya dia ada opening stage dia. Okay, opening stage dia. So maksudnya di mana kita cakap the rule of the discussion tu macam mana. Okay?
At the end of the conciliation process today, there are a number of different outcomes that we can expect. My aim is that we reach an agreement through our discussions. If we can't, there are a number of other possible outcomes. The dispute can go to court. I can refer the matter to the medical panel, or we can adjourn to a later date. If the matter does go before the medical panel, that decision is final. Okay, let's start by introducing ourselves and we'll begin with the decision notice. My name is Helen and I'm the conciliation officer. Whilst it's important that everyone is ready to listen, it's also very important that both parties are prepared to communicate as well. They can't just sit back and let their agent or assistant talk for them. This is their opportunity to put forward their point of view. Some people like to write things down to help them remember. All right, so at this point, Jim, I'd like to ask you to respond to what you've heard so far.
I've got my version of what happened here. So, on the day of the incident.
And of course, we're here to discuss both sides, so the employer and their agent will also be expected to contribute.
Yeah, I respect Jim's point of view, and that there was some confusion about what steps were taken and when, but it doesn't change our initial stand.
And hopefully, once everyone has put forward their thoughts, we can work on finding a resolution.
That was okay. Not as scary as I thought it might have been. It was a good thing we got that paperwork sorted early, otherwise it might have been much harder.
And now we know what the next steps are, which is good. And we've got the expenses sorted out too.
Is that all the costs so far?
No, that's just for attending today's conciliations. So they gave us some reimbursement forms and we'll get them filled out. And they just said, give them a call if we've got any questions.
So all in all, I guess not too bad. As long as you're prepared, then you're starting with your best foot forward, aren't you?
Jim was a little nervous to start with, but that's natural. And I think he was fine once the meeting got started. He had all his papers and certificates in order, which really helps the process. Plus, he had both kinds of support. He had personal support from his wife and expert support from the worker's assistant. Getting that extra guidance from someone who's familiar with the system and the process really makes all the difference. Look, not everything can be resolved in one session and things don't always go the way that people hope. But as long as people have read the information that we've sent them, ask any questions that they need to and come prepared, then we're in a pretty good starting position. I've actually got another conference to prepare for, so we go.
Okay, so during the conciliation, so you can also bring your supporters lah. It can be the personal supporters or the professional supporters. Itu kelebihan dia. Kalau untuk as long as you think that he or she might be helpful during the process lah. Itu untuk conciliation. Any questions so far? Ada. Clear kan? Mana dah? Okay. Okay, so for example, conciliation offered by Kuala Lumpur Regional Centre for Arbitration KLRCA, both mediation and conciliation service. Kita boleh tengok ni contoh KLRCA ni ada juga buat servis ni. Dia ada dua-dua mediation and conciliation, but you can request for conciliation lah. Okay. Okay, so the benefit of conciliation, so dia ensure the parties' autonomy. Maksudnya the decision is based on the disputant. Okay, so the parties can choose the timing, the language, the place, structure, and content of the conciliation proceedings. Okay, so conciliation ensures the expertise of the decision maker. So the parties are free to select their conciliator. So a conciliator does not have to have a specific professional background. That's semestinya. So the parties may base their selection on criteria such as experience, professional, personal expertise, availability, language, and cultural skills. So a conciliator should be impartial and independent. Faham Dia tak bias, tak memihak kepada mana-mana pihak. Okay, and then conciliation is time and cost efficient. Okay, so due to informal and flexible nature, kalau kita tengok contoh tadi, okay, Helen tadi, dia kata dia boleh ada break, ada coffee, dan walaupun tempatnya bilik-bilik yang kita nampak agak formal, tapi dia kata dia cuba jadikannya sebagai informal as possible, supaya the disputant are comfortable. Okay, so they can be conducted in a time and cost efficient manner depending on the agreement between the two disputants. Okay, and then conciliation ensures confidentiality. Sebab tu kalau kita tengok tadi, dia tidak dihadiri oleh semua orang. Dia dihadiri oleh orang-orang tertentu sahaja. For example, Jim tadi, dia ada bawa wife dia dan dia ada bawa personal assistant dia. Itu sahaja. Orang yang boleh bantu dia secara profesional dan orang yang boleh support dia secara personal. Okay, so the parties usually agree on confidentiality. So the issue tu hanyalah between the disputants and those who have access to the conflict sahaja. So therefore, disputants can be settled discreetly and business secrets will remain confidential. So biasanya conciliation ni been preferred by organisation, private organisation yang dia akan sangat concern about dia punya reputation. Kita nak jaga reputasi kita. Okay, tak nak isu tu dipost dekat social media, dekat newspaper and so on. Okay. Next one, mediation. So mediation ni refer to the process of mediation which is guided by negotiation. Ada perkataan negotiate. Okay, maksudnya kat sini pihak ketiga tu start memainkan peranan yang lebih aktif berbanding conciliator. Okay, so which parties attempt to negotiate a resolution of their disputes aided by a mediator? So the goal of mediation is for neutral third party to help disputants come to a consensus on their own. Rather than imposing a solution, a professional mediator works with the conflicting sides to explore the interest underlying their position. So maksudnya mediator ni starts to supply information to both party. Facts ke, statistics ke, okay? And then mediation can be effective at allowing parties to vent their feelings and fully explore their grievance. Okay, so dia adalah the counselling session ada sikit, not fully counselling, tapi dia adalah okay, perbincangan personal di antara mediator dengan each disputant. Okay. So working with parties together and sometimes separately, mediators. Kalau kita tengok ni kata kat sini working with parties together. So maksudnya dia akan ada opening stage. Opening stage ni sama macam conciliation tadi di mana mediator ni akan bagi tahu the rule, the ground of the mediation session macam mana. Okay, lepas tu the discussion tu boleh berlangsung dengan keberadaan kedua-dua pihak. Ataupun nanti dia akan setkan, lepas tu dia akan setkan meeting di antara mediator dengan first party, lepas tu meeting di antara mediator dengan second party, okay, dan dia akan ada concluding session. Okay, biasanya dia 3 stage. Satu stage opening, lepas tu stage mediation di mana mediator akan berjumpa dengan setiap party, setiap pihak, dan dia akan ada last kali dia akan ada conclusion session, concluding session. Okay. Okay, okay, so working mana dah? Okay, and then settling disputes through mediation can save money, ease the court loads. Kan kita tak bawa kes terlalu banyak ke mahkamah. Okay, sebab nak selesaikan kes di mahkamah ni dia mengambil masa 3 bulan, setahun, 2 tahun, and more often than not it leave party in a better state of mind. Sebab kita the disputant still boleh mengutarakan their voice during the mediation ni. Okay, so kita tengok mediation session, mediation example of mediation.
Everyone loves spreadsheets. Actually, they don't. But check this out. Okay, Monday.com. Get.
Okay, baca betul-betul dia punya briefing tu kat depan tu. Okay.
Today you will see an example of a dispute resolution as an alternative to litigation. Zeus is a small energy company based in the EU member state of Agartha. It is in dispute with Ares, a large energy producer based outside the EU. The dispute concerns Zeus's need for the right to a reduction in the price and volume commitment for gas sold by Ares to Zeus under a long-term gas supply contract entered into between the parties 10 years ago. Zeus has attempted to vary its commitments under the contract by requesting a periodic revision to the price formula to take account of the major changes in energy markets. Ares has stated its intention to issue proceedings against Zeus, claiming 50 million euros relating to Zeus's failure to meet the take-or-pay contractual obligation under the supply contract. Zeus maintains that Ares' insistence on the original terms of the contract is anti-competitive and has stated that it will make a complaint to the competition authorities if Ares does not come to the negotiating table. Barbara is head of sales at Zeus and knows that her job will be on the line if the matter is not resolved without delay. Enrico is Zeus's external counsel and a senior associate at Amicable Law. It was he who suggested the mediation. Kevin is the commercial director at Aries. He is a hard-nosed negotiator and has only agreed to mediation to make clear his position. He knows very little about the process. He is represented by Nadia, the external lawyer for Aries and a partner from Sue Law. She is skeptical of the benefits, but has agreed to represent her client at the mediation. The parties have chosen Martha to act as their mediator. She has a wide range of experience of handling complex commercial disputes with a focus on regulated industries. We join them as Barbara, Enrico, Kevin, and Nadia start the joint meeting with Martha.
Welcome, good morning, and thank you all for instructing me to be your mediator today. As we've already talked about in the private sessions, the purpose of getting everybody together this morning in this joint meeting is to make sure that you're all clear about the structure of today and how it will pan out. In a moment, I'll invite each team to make an opening statement. I'll ask the lawyers to do that. And the purpose of that is to establish exactly what's important to you and what you'd like to achieve in today's session.
It's pretty straightforward. CS owes money and are now seeking to get out of the deal. A deal is a deal.
So you all know each other, you're familiar. So let's dispense with formalities. You've said to me privately that you're happy to use first names. I take it everybody is still okay with that. Yeah, and needless to say, you can call me Martha.
Can we get a move on? Yeah.
So you know I'm a lawyer and an economist, but those roles really do not matter today. My role here is to act as a facilitator, to help you.
Martha then explains the process to the parties and reminds them of some of the key principles of mediation before asking each side to summarize their opening position.
Would like to raise now, or are we clear about how things will pan out?
No, that's clear. Thank you. The explanation.
So Enrico, it's over to you.
Thank you very much, Martha, and thank you to Aries for being here today. We know it's a long and complicated story, but Barbara and I have worked in preparation for today to try and reduce it to some basic points that we would like to discuss with you. Of course, our starting point is the contract that we've had together for over a decade now, and Aries' refusal to negotiate that contract as provided for under clause 12. We believe at Zeus that the market has changed significantly since the signature of the contract. The price of gas in the market has changed, and the insistence on us purchasing gas at the price of the contract from 10 years ago is now causing us to lose money on all of our downstream customer deals. And the reality is that's causing huge emotional distress to the company and possibly ultimately insolvency.
Oh, please give it a rest.
I know, but look, you've even threatened to sue us now if we don't take the gas under the conditions of the contract. And it's a commitment that was made over 10 years ago. We would say we have a valid counterclaim, but insistence on those volumes being paid for at those prices is not only a breach of contract, but it's actually unlawful under competition law. That competition law claim is based on unfair and excessive wholesale gas pricing. And we say that your price currently bears no resemblance whatsoever to what's going on in the market now. There's been a huge upheaval, and you know that. We would also add that there is a sense of discrimination against Zeus by Aries. We know your biggest customer in Argatha is Hermes. We know that you have a preferential deal with them. And we don't think that's right. And we say that's
speculation.
It's a price.
No evidence to say that about us and Hermes.
We do, and we think the agreement that you have with them is anti-competitive, and as such can be challenged. There's only a couple of other things. I know that you find these difficult to hear, but we say that you have a special responsibility. Ultimately, we're a smaller company than Aries, and as such, you have a responsibility to us to negotiate in good faith and to do so promptly. So, Martha, we today would ideally like to achieve simply our contractual entitlement. That's very simple, that we have a good faith adjustment of price and of volume commitments.
Thank you, Enrique. That's very clear. Nadia, I'll now invite you to speak.
I will keep my submissions brief. Aries refutes that it is in breach of contract. The renegotiation provisions in the contract provide only when there is a serious disturbance beyond the control of any party. And whilst there have been changes in the international gas markets, the situation which Zeus finds itself is of its own doing. It is not for Aries to reduce the price or the volume to throw a lifeline to Zeus for its own financial mismanagement.
Look, I feel I must object to that. I mean, we're a well-run company. We would never have agreed to the volumes or the prices that if we'd not felt that there was scope for renegotiation of the contract. That's why we insisted on reopeners.
We're here today to state our case, and if we cannot resolve the matter, we will not hesitate to issue proceedings against Zeus, claiming the sums due under the take-or-pay obligation. We have a watertight case on the competition issues. There is no evidence that Aries is dominant. Its market share is not approaching 40% in any relevant market. Even if it were dominant, which we deny, there is no final findings by a competition authority that it is an abuse of dominance to insist on contractual rights under a take-or-pay contract. And as to the allegation of anti-competitive agreements with Hermes, that is an arm's length relationship. There is no collusion.
Thank you, Nadia. Again, that's very helpful. I think now it's perhaps a convenient time for everyone to take a break, and I'll meet with Zeus shortly in private session.
Okay, so tadi firstnya adalah joint session. So joint session maksudnya the both party ni were given a chance to address the issue of interest. Masing-masing dia akan address lah. Okay, so nanti dia akan proceed dengan private session. Private session for ini masa ni dia akan jumpa setiap satu wakil sama ada daripada Zeus ataupun Iris. Dua-dua
Discussions continued throughout the day over what appeared initially to be irreconcilable positions.
They agreed to a deal and now they're seeking to get away with it. You know, as far as I'm concerned, a deal is a deal.
So you can see that they're playing hardball. I'm not surprised really. I mean, I know that another of other supply companies are looking for reopeners, so I think I'm going to tough it out.
I think that's the best way forward. We talk about this competition argument's a balance, but you know, I feel like I'm getting screwed here. I'm getting done on here, you know.
We've had a possible interest from Hyperion on a takeover, and they're not going to want to do a deal with the threat of litigation hanging over us, and you know, a contract that's crippling to our business.
Unfortunately, you know, there's some documents that have been found that I really wouldn't want to come to light. So, listen, I'm going to go ahead with this mediation, but I tell you, I'm really skeptical.
After 8 hours, the parties are finally ready for a joint meeting.
It's late in the day, and thank you everybody for your patience in sticking through till now. You've all said you want to get together in a joint session, so here we are. I will hand over to Kevin really to get on with what is the business of the day.
All right, I'll cut to it, okay? We have a final offer to make. We do not believe we are in breach of any of our contractual obligations, and your competition arguments have absolutely no leg at all. But we know this, it's still 10 years to go on the contract, and we're prepared to adjust our contractual obligations and the contractual formulas for the next 3 years. We are prepared to agree a 30% volume in reduction and to take a pay obligation and a 25% reduction in the price for the next 3 years, starting the first. We have been backwards and forwards all day on this matter, and this is our final offer. This is more than a fair outcome. In return, you will not mention this to anyone and desist from making any complaints against us to third parties in respect of this matter.
Okay. So, all right, it's not what we believe we're entitled to, but we were being pragmatic. Now, I've been in touch with our CEO, he's up to speed, and we've anticipated this movement. So we'll accept the terms with the same commitment on confidentiality, and the 10 million all inclusive?
Yeah, that's fine. We'll swallow our legal fees on that.
Well, I'll ask Enrico to draw up paperwork.
So let me summarise
Martha then summarises the position between the two parties to make sure that they are both clear on what is to be agreed.
So is there anything else, or has that concluded the issues?
No, that's fine. Right.
So I won't ask you to shake on this until everything's reduced to writing.
That's fine, Martha. I've been working on a draft settlement, and I'm sure we can finalise everything this evening. I just need a few more minutes to check the language.
Right. So my role here is almost concluded. I'll leave to you to wrap up the paperwork, unless there's anything further I can assist with.
No, that's fine. And thank you for your hard work.
I'll second that.
Well, the credit must go to all of you, and the outcome was in your hands.
6 months later, Aries and Zeus found that they were shaking hands again. A result that could never have been achieved through litigation.
Okay. So ini nampak beza dengan antara mediation dengan conciliation. So dia punya environment pun berbeza lah di antara orang yang nak attend conciliation dengan mediation ni. Mediation ni lebih panas lagi lah. Okay. Kalau kita tengok Calvin tadi macam mana, he's very aggressive because dia tahu yang dia akan win the case sebenarnya. Tapi dia pada masa yang sama dia pun ada the business kepentingan business interest lah with Zeus. Dia ada dua-dua. Okay. So example of mediation center in Malaysia yang offer the services, kita ada MMC, Malaysia Mediation Center, and mediation center under Prime Minister Department yang ditubuhkan khas pada di awal berlakunya COVID-19 di Malaysia. Okay, kita ada dua lah setakat ni. Okay, and then the benefit of mediation, we have greater control. Okay, so in which mediation increase the control the parties have over the resolution. Okay, so each parties are directly involved in negotiating their own agreement. Kalau kita tengok tadi kedua-dua parti Zeus dengan Iris tadi memang dia actively involved in negotiating the term. Okay, and no settlement can be imposed upon you. Tak ada settlement yang berlangsung dapat kita putuskan selagi kedua-dua pihak tak bersetuju. So in comparison, the satisfaction is often experienced in court where parties have little choice but to accept the judgment made by the judge which they may not be happy with. Ini kalau berlaku di court lah. Okay, so it is confidential. Okay, so ini juga biasanya suka dipertimbangkan oleh mana-mana pihak organisasi. So in which unlike the potential publicity of court proceeding, kalau kita tengok court proceeding tu dia dilangsungkan secara umum. Semua orang boleh attend. Kalau court proceeding semua orang boleh attend. Okay, so everything said at the mediation is entirely confidential. Macam yang Martha cakap, semua apa yang dibincangkan dalam bilik mediation tu hanya di situ sahaja. Okay, unless specifically agreed otherwise. Okay, so it is voluntary. So any party may withdraw at any time. Kalau dia rasa ada term yang dia tak setuju, mana-mana pihak boleh menarik diri. Okay, it is convenience, which is the mediation is arranged at a venue convenient to the both parties, sama macam conciliation, who each have their own rooms as well as separate room. Kalau kita tengok tadi dia ada joint session, okay, dia ada private session, lepas tu dia ada balik concluding session ataupun the joint session again. Okay, so the mediator listens to everyone's view, talks to the parties privately and together, guiding them towards a settlement. Okay, and then they reduce costs. Generally, the cost is greatly reduced in comparison with trying to settle the matter through court. Okay, traditional litigation is very expensive and the total cost is highly unpredictable. Ini kalau untuk legal case lah. Okay, dia ada fees untuk lawyer as well. Okay, so faster outcome, so because mediation can be used early in a dispute. Okay, and an agreement can usually be reached quicker than if pursuing through the courts. Okay, support. So mediators are trained in working with difficult situations. So the mediator acts as a neutral facilitator and support each party through the process. Dan kalau kita tengok compared to conciliation, in mediation ni kita tak dibenarkan bawa spouse kita lah. Okay, biasanya kita hanya akan ada the professional support, sama ada daripada kita punya lawyer. Okay, boleh jadi kita boleh bring our lawyer ataupun anybody that have the legal knowledge. Okay, and then preservation of relationship. So still kalau kita tengok tadi, Zeus and Aries tu dia nak maintain a long term relationship between the customer, with the customer dengan dia punya client lah. So whether it may be a business or family disputes, preservation of relationships can be a key benefit of mediation. Okay, so mediation help participants focus on effectively communicating with each other as opposed to attacking each other. Okay, kita nak preserve lagi the relationship. Okay, so next one, arbitration. Okay, yang ni yang ketiga. Nanti kita ada direct negotiation, conciliation, mediation, arbitration. Yang keempat ni arbitration. So kalau mediation tadi sama juga, dia walaupun kita the term to been written according to what has been agreed by both party, tapi dia still tidak against the legal. So the mediation it is dia binding dari segi itu, tapi not necessarily legal binding. Okay, dia tak semestinya legal binding, but the evidence discussed during the mediation tu also can be bring to the court. Okay, as evidence if the case dibawa ke mahkamah. Okay, next one is arbitration. So arbitration ni dia dah lebih macam kurang sama, kurang dan sama macam litigation, lebih kurang. Cuma ada beza sikit saja. So in arbitration, a neutral third party serve as a judge who is responsible for resolving the dispute. Okay, so kalau kat sini tadi kita tengok neutral third party tadi dalam mediation ataupun conciliation tadi, third party bukan judge, dia just facilitate. Tapi dalam arbitration, the third party ni dah start jadi judge, memang hakim. Okay, biasanya memang third party dalam arbitration ni adalah hakim. Okay, so the arbitrator listens as each side argues its case and present relevant evidence, then renders a binding decision. So kita dah start nampak dah decision dia adalah terikat secara legal. So the disputants can negotiate virtually. Maksudnya arbitration session ni boleh dibuat secara physical ataupun virtual, and any aspect of the arbitration process, including whether lawyers will be present at the time and which standards of evidence will be used. Okay, so arbitrators hand down decision that are usually confidential and that cannot be appealed. Maksudnya dia ada decision yang kita buat dekat arbitration session ni adalah final. Okay, and then like mediation, arbitration tend to be much less expensive than litigation. Okay, so kita tengok dia punya proses one by one. Bagi saya buka satu-satu dulu, senang.
We don't stop at making our products fast.
Okay, so this is the arbitration process, mediation. Okay. Ya, ada hearing dulu.
Hello, I'm from Human Resources and my name is Sarah. I'm here to conduct the investigatory interview today. The purpose of this interview is so that we can find out what happened on the balcony. I will be taking notes during the investigatory interview, so both of you can feel free to take notes. How about we start by both of you stating your names?
I'm Ann, Pat's supervisor.
My name is Pat, and I'm very upset about all this.
Okay, why don't you tell me what happened, Pat?
I was pissed off at my computer and I threw it over the balcony.
What time did this happen?
About an hour.
On the balcony?
Yep. I was trying to get some work done and my computer froze up on me for about the 4th time. I lost hours of work.
So you picked it up and threw it over the balcony?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't even look to see where it was going.
Why did you throw the laptop?
I've asked for a new computer from my supervisor for about a year now, and yet she continues to ignore me, but yet she makes more and more demands of my time. She knows I have depression, but yet she keeps digging at me.
Do you want to talk about the depression?
Not really. I see a shrink. I take my medication. I just need some time to get my shit together, and I really need my supervisor to back off me and get me a decent computer.
Okay, and did you see Pat throw the laptop?
I did. Everything Pat has said is true except the stuff about me.
Could you go into more detail?
Well, I'm under a strict budget with my boss and I cannot afford to get Pat a new computer.
Have you explained that to Pat?
Yes, but I don't think the laptop is the real problem.
What do you think the real problem is?
Pat's going through a rough divorce at this time.
Has it changed Pat's work habits?
Well, Pat always gets his work completed, but I feel like I'm always walking on eggshells. He doesn't say anything, he's sullen and he's moody. He glares at me all the time, it's kind of creepy.
Have you spoken to Pat about his moods?
Yes, but he always brushes it off and walks away.
Do you have a record of any of the dates and times that you've spoken with Pat about his moods?
Nothing in writing, but I would say probably every day for the past few weeks.
Okay. Well, I want to thank both of you for talking with me. I'll probably ask more questions, but right now we're going to take a 10-minute break.
Okay, this is the second stage, the pre-arbitration. Ini dibuat secara virtual,
Good morning. I'm Arbitrator Swift. What I'm going to do today with this pre-arb is I'd like to discuss how we'll conduct the arbitration hearing next month.
Would you first introduce yourself to me?
I am the Director of Human Resources, and my name is Sarah.
I am the attorney representing Pat, and my name is Mary.
Thank you very much.
I have before me a copy of your evidence book that the two of you have put together. And I'd like to go through the evidence book and your witness list, so there are no surprises when we have the hearing next month, okay? So I'm going to assume that you've agreed on this evidence. But if that's not true as I go through the evidence book, if you could let me know, I'd appreciate it.
Are you ready to go forward?
Yes. Yes.
The first thing that I see is the employee handbook, the arbitration clause, and that's joint 1. Joint 2 is the employee handbook clause that states the employee is an at-will employee. Joint 3 is the employee contract, which states Pat is an at-will employee, but he has the right to arbitration for,
And I quote from the book, any dispute involving his employment.
Joint 4 is the employee handbook clause that prohibits discrimination in the workplace. Joint 5 are the rules and regulations of the American Arbitration Association for arbitration hearings. I'm going to stop here and ask you, do you both agree that all of these exhibits from joint 1 through 5 should be in the exhibit book?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Joint 6 are the employment rules. Joint 7 is the letter of discharge. Joint 8 is the employee request for arbitration. Joint 9 is Pat's most recent evaluation for the past 6 months. Joint 10 are pictures of a smashed computer on the sidewalk. Am I correct in assuming that all of this will be in your evidence book for arbitration?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Now, the last 2 exhibits aren't joint exhibits. The first is the employer's exhibit number 1, which is an arbitration award by Green number 5. And I see that I can find that at the Grand Valley State University website. And employee number 1 is an arbitration award, Jones number 9. And I can see that one at the Grand Valley State website as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Good. In regard to the hearing, I typically have the employer go first with discharge cases, even if the employee is at will. I also typically allow new exhibits and additional witnesses to be added to the witness list anytime prior to the hearing, as long as the other side is notified in writing in a timely fashion. I assume you will both agree to this.
Do you allow witnesses to come via video conference if they cannot be at the hearing?
Of course, as long as everyone can ask questions of the witnesses, it's in real time, and they can all see and hear the witness. Okay? Anything else?
No, not at this time.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other questions, I will close the pre-arbitration. And I thank you for today for meeting with me via Uvu. Thank you.
Live streaming can be tricky, and sometimes trying to find the right.
I would appreciate it if both of you would give opening statements. I know that this is an at-will case, and typically with at-will, the employee goes first. But because it's a discharge case, I'd like the employer to go first and explain their case for the discharge. And then the employee will give their case second. Can you give me your opening statement? Thank you.
Thank you, Arbitrator Swift. For the record, I'm the Director of the Human Resources Department for the employer, and my name is Sarah. We are here today because the employer terminated the employee, Pat, for throwing the employer's laptop off a 4-story building. The laptop almost hit a fellow employee who was standing down on the sidewalk below. There is no dispute about the facts of this case. The employee admitted during an investigatory interview that he threw the laptop. The employee is an at-will employee according to both his employee handbook and his individual employment contract. Both documents state that he may be terminated at any time for any reason by the employer. The employee violated employment rules 4 and 10. Both of these rules prohibit violent and/or destructive behavior. These rules have been consistently enforced because the employer has zero tolerance for such behavior. We therefore ask that you uphold this discharge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next one. Itu decide untuk
Faster
HR,
and smaller.
The
We
company
make
side.
them more sustainable. Dell Technologies.
Okay, ini untuk employee side.
My name is Mary, and I represent the employee, Pat. I have some questions as part of my cross-examination. Are you ready to go forward with my cross-examination?
Yes.
You stated during direct exam that Pat was a good employee, correct?
Most of the time.
In fact, 6 months before this incident, he received an outstanding evaluation from you, correct?
Well, yes, but that was before he found out his wife wanted a divorce.
You stated during direct exam that you were his supervisor for 3 years. During those 3 years, you gave him nothing but outstanding evaluations, correct?
That is true, but as soon as his personal life was out of control, his work life suffered. It was like day and night.
In the last 6 months of Pat's employment, you increased the work level substantially, even though you knew he was having personal problems, correct?
Well, the work needs to get completed regardless of our personal lives. I tried to explain that to Pat.
Did Pat tell you he was going through a very difficult time and he needed you to cut him some slack?
Yes.
Did Pat tell you he was in counseling and is on medications for his therapy?
Yes.
Did Pat also make several requests for a new computer?
Yes, but we did not have the budget for any new equipment.
So Pat's frustrations were not just about his personal life, but also about your refusal to give him the proper equipment to get his work completed, correct?
Pat needed to get with the program and deal with his anger issues on his own time.
If you thought Pat had a serious anger issue, why didn't you contact Human Resources about the problem?
I was hoping he could work that out with his therapist.
Did you tell your supervisor or anyone about your concerns regarding Pat?
No.
So even though you were the supervisor in the workplace and you saw Pat struggling, you did nothing to help him.
I tried to talk to him, but I got nowhere. I'm his supervisor, not his wife.
I have no more questions for the witness at this time. Thank you.
This one, direct examination from the employer.
As you know, my name is Sarah and I represent your employer. I am going to ask you some questions as part of my direct examination. Are you ready?
Yes,
Please state your name for the record.
my name is Anne.
What is your position with the employer?
I'm the supervisor of B section.
Are you the supervisor of the former employee, Pat?
Yes,
How long were you his supervisor?
for 3 years.
Was he a good employee?
Yes, for the most part, he was a very good employee.
What do you mean for the most part?
Well, in the past year, he became moody and sullen while he was going through his divorce. I tried to talk with him about it, but he would just walk away.
How did these mood changes affect his work?
Well, I was totally surprised when he erupted in anger and threw the laptop over the balcony. Every day he was getting angrier about the divorce.
So you saw him throw the laptop over the balcony?
Yes, I heard him yell and I looked up from my work.
Then what happened?
He slammed the laptop against the table and then got up, walked over to the railing and threw it over the railing.
What did you do then?
I ran over and looked down to see it almost hit another employee who was standing on the sidewalk.
Did Pat say anything at that point?
Yes, he looked down and said, "Shit, I kind of lost it."
Did the employee down on the sidewalk do or say anything?
I just saw the employee jump back and heard the scream.
Okay. At this time, I have no further questions for this witness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last section. Closing statement.
Arbitrator Swift, after listening to all the witnesses, reviewing all the evidence, and listening to the employer's opening and closing statements today, it is clear that the employer violated its own policy that prohibits discrimination in the workplace. I say this for 3 basic reasons. First, Pat was an excellent employee who was going through a divorce and he made a poor decision to throw a computer. Yet his action was not motivated by malice or blatant disregard for the rules. He was suffering from serious depression, and his difficult divorce, in tandem with the never-ending pressure at work, caused him to mentally snap. Prior to the incident, his supervisor had full knowledge of his depression and anxiety disorder, but she did nothing to accommodate his disabilities. In fact, she did quite the opposite. She purposely added more pressure to his life, and this made his depression and anxiety worse. Second, Pat understands that his actions were unacceptable and that he must keep his frustration in check in the future. He has continued to work with his therapist and to take his medication. He is ready to return to work. Third, we asked the arbitrator to review the arbitration decision, Jones number 9. In that decision, the arbitrator looked at not just the inappropriate action of the employee, but also the excellent work record of the employee and determined that there were insufficient grounds for termination. We respectfully request that you find the same as the arbitrator in Jones number 9. In that case, like in this case, the employee made a mistake because of serious depression, and she was given a second chance. My client deserves a second chance too. Thank you.
Okay, so itu contoh arbitration Ada soalan setakat ni?
Through my online store alone, we've sold over $500,000 worth of spices. That's so great.
Soalan? So far? Arbitration nampak perbezaan antara ketiga tu? Okay, so ini kelebihan arbitration. So arbitration is private. Okay, so in which the proceeding including oral hearing, kalau kita tengok tadi ada oral hearing that are not open to public. So biasanya yang attend the arbitration hanyalah pihak yang terlibat sahaja dan dia punya representative. Either dia punya lawyer ataupun employer tadi. Okay, so the parties and arbitrators are often bound by strict rules of confidentiality. Okay, so therefore business secrets and sensitive information can be protected from the public, media or the competitors. Okay, so arbitrators are experts. So that's why saya kata dia mestilah biasanya judge lah, hakim. So the parties may freely choose the arbitrators as long as they are of an impartial and independent nature. So arbitrators can be selected from different nationalities and professional fields. Okay, so this guarantees the professional and personal expertise of those decide the dispute. then arbitral awards are enforceable legally. Maksudnya the decision being made during the arbitration ini adalah enforceable. Okay, so arbitration proceeding in Malaysia are governed by the Arbitration Act. Kita ada Akta Arbitration 2005. So awards given under the Malaysian Arbitration Act are final and binding and may not be set aside by the court unless they come within the specific exception set out in Section 37 of the Act. Okay, so an application can be made to the High Court to set aside an award if the party making the application is able to prove vitiating factors such as the invalidity of the arbitration agreement, the absence of the proper notice or award deals with a matter beyond the terms of the submission to arbitration. So the court can also set aside the award if it finds that the subject matter in dispute is not capable of settlement under existing laws or the award is in conflict with the public policy. Okay, mana-mana yang terpakai. Okay, so the arbitration may save time and cost because it is tailor-made procedure, and the absence of appellate and or review proceeding provide the opportunity for arbitration proceeding to be completed within a relatively short time compared to litigation. So further costs can be saved by choosing a suitable language or venue, which in turn avoids unnecessary translation or travel costs. Okay, so dia lagi murah berbanding litigation, bukan berbanding yang lain-lain yang kat bawah tadi. Okay, the last resort, litigation. So it is the most familiar type of dispute resolution. For example, civil litigation type typically involve a defendant facing off against a plaintiff before either a judge and jury. Okay, the judge or the jury ni responsible for weighing the evidence presented by both parties and making a ruling. Okay, so the information conveyed in hearing and trials usually enters and stays on the public record. Sebab tu kalau kita tengok decision made by the civil court ni, kita boleh access through online. Banyak case yang dibawa kalau kita tengok tu banyaklah. So lawyers typically dominate litigation, okay, which often ends in a settlement agreement during the pre-trial period of discovery and preparation. Okay, so the benefit of the litigation ni, state court judgment can be enforced. Maksudnya sama ada kita suka ataupun tak, kita kena ikut. Kalau penjara lah, kalau denda lah, kalau saman lah. Okay, state court proceeding can be relatively cheap. Kalau state court state court. Okay, the cost of the proceeding depend upon the amount in dispute. Dia ada percentage dia. They can also be defined by fixed regulatory schedules. Okay, state court proceeding can be relatively quick. State court bukan high court. Okay, state court proceeding offer efficient protection sebab dia legally bound. Okay, so state court proceeding offer efficient protection by granting fast interim and summary relief. For example, injunction against competitors in intellectual property right or family dispute. Okay, ni kita boleh kalau you all nak baca lagi lah. So any questions so far? Hopefully the presentation today will help you in preparing your assignment.
Doctor, can we get the second classes and classes today recording?
Sure. I will share.
Because we so far only get the class one.
Yeah.
And also would like to consult it because previously my group formed a group with 4 people, but so far 2 of them are quitting the study. So only left 2 of us in the group. Can we actually join other group or?
Yes. You may consult with Azizul, Yiling. You may consult with Azizul. Just now Azizul asked me that his 2 group members also defer the study. You may consult with Azizul. So that you have 2, Azizul have 2, then 4 of you.
Okay, sure. Okay.
Okay, settle Azizul? Boleh? Saya jadi third party ni. Boleh?
Nanti kami bincang-bincang doktor. Sebab dah ada group lain juga sebenarnya, tapi tak apa, nanti kami bincang-bincang.
Negotiate accordingly, negotiate mana yang possible.
So the maximum is 5 people per group, is it, doctor?
Kalau boleh 4 sudahlah. Okay, because I thought there are 12 of you, right? How many? 12 kan? Dalam group tadi ada 12 kan? How many of you actually? Kalau kat sini 9 lah.
Sebab ramai dah
Lepas tu
keluar doktor.
ramai yang defer.
Sebab ramai
doktor.
dah defer. Kita kena rombak balik lah amount tu.
Ramai yang tak suka dengan saya lah tu. Tak apa nanti.
Bukan.
Semua bukan doktor je.
Bukan.
Okey, tak apa. Nanti tengok balik. Kalau possible, kalau boleh dalam 3-4 sudah. Cukup lah sebab at least sebab salah satu lah that's my inspiration when I come up with the assignment is so that you can learn something. You can learn on how you can handle the conflict within the organisation. Sebab kita tahu kalau kita sebut perkataan konflik ni semua orang tak suka. Alah, konflik je pun. Tapi kalau kita bekerja dalam organisasi ni adalah sesuatu benda yang sangat perlu kita titik beratkan. Sebab kenapa berlakunya domestic ataupun berlakunya domestic inquiry dekat organisasi ni? Sebab salah satunya benda-benda kecil yang kita ignore macam ni. Kadang-kadang employee kita tak nak bercakap selagi kita tak panggil, tak jumpa. Right? So kalau boleh, you all boleh value or appreciate the assignment ni as something that is practicable at your workplace. Sebab tu kalau boleh 3 boleh lah kot. 3. Kalau kan mediation kan 3 orang. Ada satu pihak, 2 pihak dan pihak ketiga. Tapi kalau rasa nak senang sikit, adalah yang tolong ambilkan video tu, nak preparekan storyboard and so on. Okay, so berapa orang total? Kalau 9 ni boleh buat 3 group. Tapi kalau dalam our group, WhatsApp group ni macam ada 14.
Diorang tak left lagi tu doktor. Diorang tak left lagi tu. Ada yang masih ada dalam tu. Jadi pemerhati.
Nanti cakap kat dia orang, tak payahlah jadi pemerhati, keluarlah. Okay, so tak apa, tengok berapa orang. Kalau let's say 3/4 lah, 3/4 acceptable lagi. Okay,
Doktor nak tanya.
Yes.
Doktor nak tanya sikit. Tadi ada dekat video-video tu kan ada term yang saya nampak. Dan saya selalu nampak perkataan tu, with prejudice and without prejudice. Boleh tak doktor terang sikit, apa sebenarnya prejudice ni? Macam mana? Apa maksud maksud prejudice tu?
Okay, kalau dalam konteks yang awal tadi, prejudice tu maksudnya bila kita enter into the conflict resolution session ni, maksudnya kita kena be open lah. Prejudice ni kita tak adalah stick to one decision yang mungkin kita bila kita masuk mediation ataupun session untuk kita resolve the conflict ni, we should be open. Maksudnya boleh jadi we manage to achieve all the goals that we set from the beginning ataupun tak semestinya. Kalau kita tengok dalam kes antara Iris dengan Zeus tadi, kalau kita tengok Kevin tadi, dia memang very prejudiced, skeptical. Dia macam kalau boleh dia nak yang apa yang dia set goal dia tu nak tercapai, dia tak nak consider the second party. Tapi later on he decided to accommodate lah juga. Okay, kalau kita tengok prejudice ni maksudnya kita flexible regarding the result of the final result of the dispute. Okay, kita tak adalah prone towards kita punya goal saja ataupun tak adalah kita stick yang for sure kita akan kalah, tak semestinya. Okay, kita flexible, open for any decision finally been decided. Okay, kalau dekat court tu memang kita tak boleh nak buat apalah, tambah-tambah kalau let's say kalau kita attend yang mediation ataupun conciliation. Sebab anything, sebab dua-dua kita boleh bincang lagi kalau during conciliation ataupun mediation. Tapi kalau dalam arbitration and litigation, biasanya dua-dua tu ditentukan oleh the legal term. According to mana the enforceable law lah, mana-mana akta yang berkait. Saya tak sebut mana-mana akta kat sini sebabnya banyak. Kalau commercial law dia ada akta dia. Kalau labor law dia ada akta dia. Okay, dan labor biasanya labor yang berkaitan buruh ni dia akan bawa ke labor court lah. Labor court. Jarang yang dibawa ke civil court. Tapi kita ada satu kes dulu. Tapi kes ni lama lah yang melibatkan kes stewardess, pramugari MAS, MAS. Okay, yang dia kata dia telah not sexually harassed. Dia telah didiskriminasi secara jantinanya. Okay, sebab kes tu melibatkan Beatrice nama dia. Nama the women tu pramugari tu Beatrice. Okay, kes tu you all boleh carilah dekat, memang ada dekat internet lah, you boleh search. Okay, so the case ni melibatkan seorang pramugari, yang mana pramugari ni kalau untuk kita bekerja dalam syarikat penerbangan ni biasanya dia kena maintain berat badan tertentu, Kena maintain berat badan tertentu. Azizul senyum je, sukalah tu fly lepas
Pernah dengar kes tu, doktor.
Kes tu menarik lah. Okay, itu kes yang memang kita guna sebagai precedent case. Okay, so kes tu then dia kena maintain berat badan satu. Lagi satu dia kena maintainkan shape tertentu. Bentuk tu tak kira lah 36, 30, 36 ke tak kira. Tapi dia kena maintainkan that shape. Itu ketetapan yang ditetapkan dalam dia punya employment contract. Dan kontrak tu telah design oleh pekerja tersebut. Sebab tu pentingnya bila kita bekerja ni kita baca dulu kontrak pekerjaan kita tu. Setuju ke tak? Kalau tak setuju cuba discuss or negotiate with the employer lah. Tapi pada masa tu Beatrice ni setuju dan dia sign the employment contract. Okay? Tapi so bila dia dah berkahwin, masa dia punya employment, the service tu dia berkahwin. Dia berkahwin dan dia mengandung. So bila dia mengandung, so lepas dia mengandung, masa tu dia direhatkan lah sebab badan dia tak cukup piawai lah, tak cukup standard. So then dia lepas dia melahirkan, lepas the maternity leave and so on, so the employer remind lah dia kena keep berat badan asal lah, berat badan dan shape badan asal, tapi dia tak berjaya. So dia tak berjaya dan dia determinate lah, determinate daripada servis dia. Dan dia rasa dia discriminate. Dia discriminate. So dia bring the case to the court. So tapi akta yang dibawa time tu adalah saya lupa aktanya, tapi yang berkaitan dengan discrimination lah, sebab kita ada kalau ikut federation law ni ni memang ada dinyatakan yang di Malaysia ni kita tak menerima diskriminasi yang melibatkan warna kulit, melibatkan jantina dan so on, ada. So maksudnya akta tu bertentangan dengan akta employment tu. Tapi tetap employer dia menang dalam kes tu sebab benda tu telah dipersetujui oleh employee. Walaupun sebab itulah sebabnya adalah isu-isu dekat Penang, ada contohnya pekerja kata nak cari pekerja tapi tak bertudung contohnya. Sebab it depends on the company as well. Depends sebab mungkin the nature of job tu memang tak sesuai dengan orang yang bertudung. Dan ada juga yang employer memang dalam dia punya advertisement tu memang dia state dia nak cari orang yang non-Muslim ke, memang ada that criteria tu. So itulah contoh kes dia. Lagi ada soalan lain? Lagi? Is there any other question? Ada tak?
When will be the deadline for the draft for the idea?
There's no deadline lah, but I prefer if you manage to submit it earlier, it would be very helpful lah to me as well. Sebab nanti you all nak buat, you all nak shoot the video, it takes some time. You want to edit the video, it also needs some time. Okay, kalau boleh, you just share the summary. Summary tak panjang pun, just around 1 page pun cukup. As long as I know that what you are going to do. Itu sahaja. Okay, but please specifically mention either you want to proceed with mediation or negotiation.
Okay.
Okay, dalam situ make sure you all mention specific sama ada nak buat mediation ataupun negotiation, dua je. Okay. Lagi soalan?
Kiranya doktor, konsep kita buat untuk yang shoot video tu, konsep macam video-video yang doktor sayang tadi, dia simple juga, tapi dia punya dalam konten dia lah.
Betul. Sama macam sebiji macam dalam video tu. Okay, kalau ada
kes lah berbeza.
Kesnya boleh jadi berbeza, tapi kalau boleh, kalau contohlah macam you all applykan teknik-teknik tertentu. Macam contoh kalau kita tengok tadi mediation, tadi dia ada joint session, dia ada private session, lepas tu dia ada final joint session. So kalau you all macam setiap session perubahan session tu you all letak, you all come out dengan description, ataupun during the discussion tu you all letak teknik apa yang you all gunakan, empathy ataupun active listening, so you all letak. You all letak note tu, teknik apa yang digunakan sepanjang semasa perbincangan, semasa mediation ataupun negotiation tu. Ataupun kalau you all pakai teknik competing, ataupun ada masa you all pakai teknik accommodate. So letakkan teknik-teknik tu. Description dalam video tu, bagi cantik, bagi nampak. So that bila kita tengok video tu, kita tahu yang teknik apa yang you all gunakan. Method tu kita you all pakai mediation. Okay, tapi teknik apa yang digunakan supaya bila when you become the mediator, you can control the session. Why, even though you have a very aggressive client, you boleh control the session.
Kira doktor, kita kena ada mediator dalam kita orang punya video.
Kalau let's say you use in your conflict situation, you choose to settle the conflict through mediation, then you need to have a mediator lah. Senyum je Azizul, saya bagus betul mood dia hari ni.
Dia faham sangat tu doktor.
Alhamdulillah.
Sedekah senyum.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, ni saya share sikit sebab kita ada masa lagi, sikit lagi. Sayang pula Okay, kita ada masa lagi, kita tambah sambung sikit lagi on the skill needed in conflict management. So tadi kita belajar tentang method yang kita boleh gunakan, kaedah-kaedah yang kita boleh gunakan untuk menyelesaikan konflik. So sekarang ni apa skill kita, apa kemahiran yang kena ada? Sama ada kita sebagai direct negotiator ataupun kita sebagai the third party. Okay? So first, this is our LO. So at the end of the session, so you are able to identify the conflicting situation. First, kita nak kena ada satu skill di mana kita tahu situasi mana yang menggambarkan situasi itu adalah situasi berkonflik. Kena ada kemahiran ni. Kadang-kadang kita nampak tapi kita buat tak tahu. Kita tahu itu berkonflik tapi kita ignorance. Sama ada kita tak tahu ataupun buat tak tahu. Okay, yang kedua, determine the skills in managing stress. Sebab konflik ni can lead to stress. Okay, boleh menyebabkan tekanan. Sama ada tekanan kepada orang yang secara langsung deal with the conflict ataupun tekanan kepada orang yang terpaksa menangani isu konflik tersebut. Okay, and then determine the skills in managing anger, kemarahan, dan skill in problem solving. Macam mana kita nak menyelesaikan masalah. Okay. Ni, understanding conflicting situation. So konflik, kalau kita recall balik definisi dia melibatkan clash between individuals arising out a different in thought process. Dalam pemikiran, dalam attitude, dalam pemahaman, interest, requirements and even sometimes perception. Okay, so dan konflik ni kadang-kadang dia takkan wujud kalau kita tak perceive the situation tu sebagai konflik. Okay, so when the eye say one thing and the tongue say another thing, say another. So a practice man relies on the language of the first. Ini masalah dia. When the eyes say one thing and the tongue another. Sebab dia ada the differences between the two things. Sebab itulah boleh berlakunya konflik. Okay, so macam mana kita nak bangunkan skill untuk sense the konflik ni? So sensing the conflict ni is ability to identify the conflict situation can be developed through interpersonal communication skill. Macam mana kita ni lebih prihatin untuk tahu yang benda tu wujud. So kita kena aware. Okay, kita kena aware ni, yang ni kita memang dah tahu sangat dah. So saya just refresh balik. So kita ada 3 channel komunikasi. Non-verbal which is behavior, verbal, perkataan dan para-verbal. So para-verbal ni how we say things. Kalau non-verbal ni they include all the body language lah. Okay, body language, facial expression, teli ke tak mata kita, hidung kita dengan mulut kita. Kalau kita happy, adakah mata kita synchronize dengan mulut kita? Okay, and then gesture. Kita punya gerak badan. So we generally form first impression and give and receive feelings and emotion using this channel. Okay, so second one, verbal. Okay, verbal ni semua apa yang kita cakap. Okay, we use sama ada written or spoken. Dia boleh jadi bertulis ataupun yang terucap to send information on thoughts, feelings, intentions, directions and data. Okay, so last one, para-verbal. So para-verbal ni how we say things. Kadang-kadang benda yang kita cakap tu betul. Cuma cara penyampaiannya tak kena atau masa yang disampaikan tu tak kena. So grunts, groans, volumes, pitch, speed, tone and inflection of voice are example. Mungkin bila dengar suara saya macam kuat sikit ni, you all dah stress. Ataupun mungkin bila dengar saya bercakap laju, you all dah rasakan benda tu dah conflicting. Maksudnya paraverbal ni dia penambah rasa. Okay, dia penambah rasa lagi yang menyebabkan berlakunya yang kita rasa ini sebenarnya something wrong somewhere. Okay, so we can influence meaning by how we say things. Kadang-kadang kita rasa saya happy, contoh, saya happy, faham tak? Gerak muka kita, happy, ya ke? Okay, so dia give meaning, different meaning. Okay, so first channel, non-verbal or behavioral channel. So it include all forms of data that are not spoken or written. Okay, benda ni benda yang tak tertulis dan tak terucap, tapi kita nampak. Okay, aspect of non-verbal behavior include personal appearance, cara pemakaian. Kalau kita contoh, kita pergi event kenduri kahwin, pakai seluar pendek. Pergi kenduri kahwin, pakai seluar pendek. Kalau in certain culture, it may be acceptable. But in Malay culture, it is not acceptable. Contoh, kan? So personal experience tu dia menggambarkan meaning. Dia ni baru putus dengan pengantin tu ke tak puas hati. Contoh. Okay, so it can be body shapes, size, hairstyle. Hairstyle pun boleh give meaning, clothing, cara pemakaian kita, makeup kita, and jewelry send many messages. Okay, so we wear wedding rings, for example, to let others know we are married. Contoh. Tapi ada juga perempuan yang tak kahwin lagi tapi dia pakai cincin. Sebab apa? Tak nak diganggu. Give meaning. Okay, some remove theirs when going out on the town. Contohnya, Azizul dah kahwin tapi bila nak keluar je, buka cincin. Sebab kan nak pergi tengok wayang je, buka cincin. Sebab tak nak di-recognize as married. So single and available lagi kononnya. Okay, so we bleach our hair because blonde supposedly have more fun. Contoh. Okay, atau we pierce, tattoo, lift, tuck and enhance our bodies to express our uniqueness or to appear more attractive to others. So setiap apa yang kita buat sebenarnya ada maksud. Okay, next one, body movement. Okay, body movement ni non-verbal body movement used to express or emphasize an idea, an emotion or a state of mind. Okay, so it is visible bodily action by which meaning is represented. Okay, for example, posture, tongkat dagu ke? Kalau tongkat dagu ni kita faham, boring lah tu kelas saya tu. Contoh, okay, and then gestures, okay, mengangguk kepala, leg cross or uncross and arm cross or uncross are example. So we may see it in a way that others interpret as showing attentiveness. If we sleep in class, the instructor may conclude that we are rude. Tapi kalau kita saya nampak macam Azizul duduk selesa sangat tu, saya rasa bila nak habis kelas ni doktor. Okay, contoh. Okay, dia ada lagi next one, facial expression. So ni kan pun kena careful. Kalau tengok case Amber Heard tu, kan ada orang yang analyse dia punya facial expression. Ekspresi muka Amber Heard tu. Ada orang analyse. Sama ada dia menipu ke, tak menipu ke. Okay, so we can give the concerned caring look or the hate face as needed. Kadang-kadang orang tu kata, aku menyampah lah dengan dia ni. Tapi muka dia tu tak nampak macam dia menyampah. Muka dia tu dia macam care, macam love, macam tu. Contoh. Okay, so we can look please. Kan kalau kita tengok orang nak merayu tu, kita tengok macam mana muka dia. Muka bersalah, menunduk. Contoh, certain, kita boleh tengok muka orang tu confident, confused or indifferent. Tak boleh nak bezakan pun kita boleh nampak. We may roll our eyes to show our incredulity. Okay, actors are skilled at putting on faces to create a mood or to communicate a feeling. Kalau you all boleh handle benda ni, then you hebat lah. Okay, touching behavior. Dignitaries from other country kiss each other's cheek. Contoh, in our country, men shake hand and women hug. Kalau kat Malaysia ni, kalau kita nampak lelaki berpelukan tu, it's quite scary lah. Okay, kalau kat Malaysia, it is a culture. Okay, kalau you are dealing with someone from America, You should give him or her some space. Tak boleh peluk. Dia tak suka peluk. Because American or Westerner ni dia suka some privacy. So that's why kalau kita nak jumpa dia punya parents pun, kita kena set appointment kalau in Western. Okay. So we may think that touching custom of people from other countries are odd, but they are not odd to them. Kalau kita tengok Bangladesh, dia suka peluk, hak. Okay, itu culture. Ataupun dia suka pegang tangan. Kalau kita tengok Bangladesh, kan, dia orang jalan pun berpegangan tangan. Itu adalah culture dia. Okay. The use of time. So assume you are leading a meeting, your staff is expected to attend, and one employee is always 10 minutes late. So ini pun akan memberi maksud. In fact, you could set your watch by his tardiness. Maksudnya bila dia dengan kelewatan dia tu kita dah tahu dah dia ni confirm 10 minit lambat. Bila dia sampai tu confirm dah lambat 10 minit. Okay? So what would you conclude? Apa yang bila kita tengok staff kita lambat 10 minit, apa yang akan kita conclude? Memang hari-hari motor dia rosak ke? Ataupun hari-hari memang dia akan lambat ke? Hari-hari dia sakit perut ke?
Dia bangun lambat, doktor.
Dia bangun lambat. Memang
Hari-hari.
consistent. Everyday 10 minit. Everyday 10 minit. Okay. Contoh ni kata we might conclude that he has other more pressing matters. Contohnya kena hantar anak sekolah. Lagi penting daripada mesyuarat tersebut. Okay, he does not care. Ataupun he does not care to hear the information or participate in the meeting. Possible juga. Dia rasa meeting tu tak penting. Okay, he lacks discipline. Possible juga. He lacks discipline. He does not value your meeting and would rather stay away. Or he just likes being fashionably late. Ataupun memang habit dia dah lambat 10 minit. Okay, all of these possible interpretation for his tardiness are reasonable. But which one is it? Sebab kalau kita perceive that the behavior is because his discipline, dan dia boleh dikenakan DI. Bukan tindakan disiplin lah, bukan DI lah, tak sampailah DI dah. Tapi boleh dikenakan punishment. Tapi kalau kita tengok mungkin dia lambat ni sebab nak hantar anak sekolah. Tapi tak mestinya tindakan kita tak semestinya kita kenakan tindakan disiplin. Sebab apa? What we perceive tu akan result in the next action yang kita akan berikan kepada individu tersebut. So itu pentingnya kita ada the right interpretation according to the situation. Okay, so other pressing matters, lack of discipline or lack of caring are widely different conclusion. Maksudnya result dia tu akan berbeza depending on what conclusion that we make according to that behavior. Dia boleh berbeza. Okay. Okay, so interpreting non-verbal information, so it is ambiguous nature of the non-verbal channel. So often we interpret the meaning of non-verbal behavior ni based on our past experience. Sebab tu kita need to be very careful, need to aware that kita tak boleh rely on the past experience sahaja. Kita still need to keep in mind that there might be an error if we interpret the situation solely based on our past experience. So our interpretation may or may not be accurate. Dia tak semestinya accurate. That's why tak boleh rely on only one source. Okay, so correctly interpreting non-verbal behavior is very difficult. So that's why we need to rely on a few sources. We need to double check with the person. We need to double check with the record and so on. Tak boleh rely on our own perspective only. So for example, how do we communicate our anger non-verbally? Okay, we may give the silent treatment. Boleh jadi individu kan. Kalau kita tak suka atau kita marah, we can give the silent treatment. Diam je. Okay, or go for a drive. Possible juga. Okay, make unusually loud noises while doing a chore like cooking or cleaning the house. Ngamuk. Suami contohnya suami tak nak tolong bantu basuh. So buat kaki tung 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 tung. Contohnya dah. Ataupun buat periuk jatuh. Contoh. Ataupun at our workplace saja jatuhkan file. Tung. Okay, contoh. Okay, so accurately decoding a non-verbal message is difficult because of the ambiguous nature of human behavior. Sebab human are unique. Who's already attended the qualitative class? You all ada qualitative class tak? Tak ada. Oh, sayangnya. Okay, dalam qualitative class ni you will learn about one term, multiple realities. multiple realities. Setiap individu tu kita sebenarnya mungkin dia ada satu pattern behavior dia, tapi sebenarnya kita still tak boleh nak assume yang behavior dia tu akan consistent across time. Tak semestinya. Dia ada multiple realities. Okay, behavior dia boleh berubah-ubah. Okay, the term multiple. That's why manusia, human behavior ni kita tak boleh predict yang dia akan selalunya bertingkah laku sedemikian. Dia akan ada pattern dia tapi tak semestinya selalunya sama. Okay, so we can expect flexibility or differences in their response or behavior. Okay, for example, what might we conclude about someone who will not maintain eye contact when talking with us? Bila kita bercakap dengan seseorang, kadang-kadang kita nampak dia memang akan tengok. Is it dia tengok tu sebab dia betul-betul fokus ataupun dia sebenarnya tengok tapi he's not there. Dia tengok tapi dia tak ada kat situ pun. Okay, ataupun lagi satu, dia tak tengok tapi he can maintain, he or she can still maintain dengar dengan baik. Dia tak tengok tapi dia boleh mendengar dengan baik. Okay, so we may choose any of the following interpretation. For example, he is disinterested. Boleh jadi. Kadang-kadang kita bercakap dengan dia, dia tak maintain eye contact. Mungkin boleh jadi dia tak mendengar. Tapi kita tak boleh expect dia tak mendengar sepenuhnya. Tak juga. He is lying. Possible juga. He is shy. Possible juga. Dia tak tengok directly. Sebab apa? Sebab dia memalu. Contohnya kalau let's say dalam Islam biasanya lelaki dilarang untuk melihat direct ke mata perempuan, wanita. Wah, Aziza. Contoh, itu memang yang diamalkan. Right, dia tak tengok direct, dia akan sama ada tengok dahi ataupun dia menunduk atau dia mengalihkan pandangan, menundukkan pandangan. Contoh. So those from different culture, the Chinese, they need to understand this culture. It is sometimes the employee not necessarily disinterested with what you want to say, but it is just their habit. Bila dia bercakap, dia didn't look straight into your eyes. Okay, so he is showing respect. Sometimes, for example, when a child talking to the mother, kan, kalau in Malay culture, in Asian culture, they rarely look at their mother's eyes, but they rasa itu adalah something yang disrespectful. Different with the Western culture. When they talk to each other, okay, they can see directly through the eyes, kan? Boleh tengok air mata direct langsung. Okay? So we know that our interpretation of non-verbal data will influence our subsequent behavior and attitudes. So kena faham macam mana kita interpret the situation, kejadian tu will influence the way we react. Apa yang kita akan respon kemudiannya tu. Okay, so that's why very careful. We need to be very careful when making the interpretation. Okay, and then obviously we will react to people differently if we think they are lying to us than if we conclude they are shy. Kalau kita tengok tadi, dia tak pandang kita sebab kita rasa dalam kepala kita rasa dia ni sebenarnya menipu kita. Sebab tu tak berani. Cara kita react dengan dia, cara kita jawab dengan dia, cara kita respon kat dia akan berbeza dengan kalau kita rasa dia ni pemalu. Kalau kita rasa dia pemalu, kita akan approach dia lebih friendly. Tapi kalau dalam kepala kita dah interpret dia yang dia ni menipu, kita akan layan dia dengan sangat kasar. Berbeza dah. Okay? So the stakes can be high. So how do we choose which interpretation to believe? Macam mana kita nak make sure kita pilih interpretasi yang betul? So therefore, it is important that we correctly decode the non-verbal behavior. Decode semua sumber yang ada tu kita baca. Mata dia, cara dia, based on past experience dia macam mana. Okay, semua decode at that time. So benda ni sebenarnya boleh berlaku dalam split second. Okay, so ini kalau let's say you all pernah belajar pasal komunikasi, ingat balik proses ni. Okay, proses komunikasi dia ada source, dia ada channel, dia ada kat tengah tu encoding, channel, decoding dengan the receiver. Okay, and then masalah tu, barrier tu boleh berlaku kat tengah ni, encoding, channel and decoding. So kat sinilah sebenarnya daripada isteri kepada suami dia, daripada seorang bos kepada subordinate dia. Okay, so akan ada masalah kat tengah-tengah tu. Okay, so bila kita menjadi seorang mediator, apa yang kita kena buat? Check out your hunch and follow your curiosity. Kalau kita ada rasa macam tak sedap hati, cuba explore lagi. When someone's behavior catch your attention, for any reason, ask the person about it. Kalau kita nampak file tu banyak kali jatuh, contoh, tanya, kenapa? Boleh jadi sebabnya memang perangai dia, memang habit dia ataupun memang behavior dia cuat. Boleh jadi. Sebab tu barang jatuh. Dia bukannya nak menunjukkan yang dia protes, tapi memang dia tu jenis cuat. Gerak sikit jatuh, gerak sikit jatuh. Okay, so ask what the behavior means. Okay, so if you have already formed your own interpretation of the behavior, check it for accuracy against what the person said. Okay, check. Kalau kita dah interpret, cuba check lagi sekali. I have one experience. As what I thought everybody already know lah. I'm a Kelantanese. Saya orang Kelantan. So I have one friend which is Selangorian. Okay, so there's one day I talk to her. Then saya sebut perkataan tolol. Awak ni tolol lah. Tolol. I'm not sure from her culture. But the response that I received from her, saya tengok ekspresi muka dia tu macam she's quite frustrated and then quite dissatisfied. Dan dia jawab balik kat saya, awak lah yang tolol. The tone tu different. Faham tak? So, I'm curious. So, I ask her again, what does it mean by tolol in your culture? So, saya tanya. So, dia kata, dalam budaya dia tolol tu maksud dia bodoh. Oh, I'm sure. I didn't mean that. To me, tolol tu lucu. To me, tolol tu mean lucu. You are fun. You are funny. Kan? Itu maksud saya. That's why bila saya bagi tu dalam bentuk, saya pun dalam bentuk yang fun-fun je. So then I double check. What does it mean? Because I see the change very obvious in the facial expression, in her facial expression. So pada saya, kalau let's say orang kata saya bodoh, memang saya marah lah. Betul lah. But I correct again. Saya betulkan yang saya tak maksudkan macam tu. The term tolol to me is lucu, funny. Okay. So when someone's behavior contradicts his work, okay, contradicts maksudnya ekspresi muka, saya happy. Contoh dia kata dia happy, tapi muka dia tak menggambarkan dia happy. So kan dia kata saya bersimpati, tapi dia senyum. Something wrong. Okay, you can see the contradiction. Okay, and then ask about it and probe for understanding. Ada juga orang, setengah orang karakter dia memang dia bersimpati, tapi mungkin disebabkan he or she ni has been abused for quite some time, tapi dia tak rasa dia empathy tu. Ni start ada the psychological element lah. Kadang-kadang benda tu pun boleh mempengaruhi kenapa dia tak boleh nak menggambarkan perasaan simpati tu di muka dia. Ada so kita kena faham benda tu. So bring the contradiction to a concise level. Concise level ni maksudnya bila kita nampak je perbezaan tu, kita jangan diamkan diri, kita jangan assume ikut our own interpretation je. It is not enough. Bring it into the concise level. Okay, tanya dia, discuss. Why? Apa sebenarnya yang dimaksudkan? Okay? Okay, and then when you are negotiating a conflict by yourself. Tadi kalau kita sebagai mediator, sekarang ni kalau kita negotiate, kita tengah bargain our own conflict. We do not rely on your own behavior to send your thoughts and feelings. Use words instead. Okay, jangan ingat kalau kita bagi simbol ni, contohnya macam ni, orang akan faham. Okay, contoh peace, orang akan faham. No. Okay, try to strengthen the message that you deliver by using another means as well. Okay, faham? Buat dua-dua. Lagi convincing. Right? Okay, so do not expect the other person to read your behavior accurately. Ini yang banyak berlaku ni. Kalau geng-geng lelaki ni, contohnya dia banyak lah keluar. Keluar dengan awet dia ke, contoh. Kita nak makan kat mana hari ni? Oh, saya tak kisah. Jawapan dia, oh, saya tak kisah. So tak kisah tu kita pun tak kisahlah ke mana-mana. Contoh. So be careful. Dua-dua kena careful. Yang tak kisah tu pun kena kisah, yang kisah ni pun kena kisah. Dua-dua. Okay? Portray whatever you need so accurately. We cannot expect other people to accurately read our mind. Tak boleh. Walaupun kita ni dah memang tidur satu bantal, okay, duduk pergi makan pun satu pinggan, tak boleh. Okay, so different people will going to have different interpretation. Okay, kita tak boleh expect benda tu.
Sorry to interrupt, Doctor, because we have another class at 11 a.m.
Yeah. Saya shock sangat dah. Okay, it's already 11. Okay, so thank you so much. Boleh tak saya habiskan sikit je lagi? Boleh?
Boleh.
Sikit lagi. Okay, if you angry, say so. Kalau marah, cakap. Jangan diam. Okay, if you feeling hurt, then say so. Kalau rasa-rasa, bagi tahu. Tempting others to read your mind or feeling is a setup. Kalau kita rasa orang lain tu boleh baca fikiran kita, sebenarnya itu setup towards a conflict. Kita sedang perangkap diri sendiri dan orang tersebut towards conflict. Okay, so thank you so much guys. So please, hopefully you have time lah to mark your attendance tadi. So thank you so much. So I thought this is our last session. Kalau perlukan another session, just let me know. We'll try to arrange one. Okay, and then please proceed with your assignment. Okay, so take care guys. See you
Doctor,
in the
if you can, if we face any problem in assignment, we can always text you in WhatsApp group. And if we can propose a consultation space, is it?
Yes, propose consultation to yes. We'll check lah. Okay, whenever possible. Okay, so thank you so much guys. Take care. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Doctor.
Terima kasih, Doktor.